Hello guys, I hope you are able to hear me clearly. The last time we met with you guys, it was when there was a meeting between the Matatu operators and CS Wandai. Was it Wandai or Mbadi? Yeah, but I remember it was Wandai, I think, when that guy, what is his name? Kennedy Kaunda. When that guy was saying that after Wandai had spoken, akaambia watu, we have not agreed and the strike is still on. And I remember one of our colleagues here said, these people will be bribed warudi kwa barabara. And that is exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened yesterday. I'm even seeing some memes which are trending to show the kind of so wananchi tumeuzwa. Let me just paste the link over here. Welcome to those who are joining our show. So wananchi tumeuzwa. Yeah, I think those people were given the brown envelope or whatever happened. Yeah, that guy, I don't know what happened to, with all due respect, overnight. I don't know what happened. But yeah, it is what it is. Wamesema tuwape 1 week, watajadiliana. Sijui ni nini wanajadiliana. I don't understand what is that they want to discuss or have meetings over. Kipril, I can see you over there. Yeah, you told me. Yeah, so they were bought, and I just listened to one of the there is one person who owns the Matatu. Is it the Circle? Okay, one of the Matatu operators mwenye ana own. Nilisikia akiongea asubuhi na Ndimuli pale kwa TV. Then he was saying they were not bribed. Alisema they were not bribed. Let me just look for that video. And the same yesterday I saw that there was one OCS wa Central Police Station alikuwa arrested because of releasing the innocent protesters. Anyway, akapi huyo mwenye alikuwa anasema hawakukuwa bribed. I was so, yani the way that guy was serious the night before, mwenye alikuwa anasema with all due respect, hadi watu walikuwa wameanza kusema we love this guy, we love this guy. The following day, the way this guy was smiling, meno zote zilikuwa zinaonekana. Kweli poverty is bad. Kumbe the enemy is poverty. Wamekana hawakukuwa bribed. Let me just look for this video.
Try new Nivea Derma Control Natural Tone with pure hyaluron and vitamin C for soft and even-toned underarms in 2 weeks.
My name is Reinhard Bonke.
My name is Julia.
They have denied.
Good morning.
Cheniwekeo video yenye alikuwa anasema hawakukuwa bribed.
Yongo is joining us via phone link. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Now, yesterday you may have been in that meeting that decided to call off the strike. We need to understand what happened there, because many Kenyans feel that probably it was a bit premature to call off the strike without any tangible deal from the government.
Yes, we have a very lengthy discussion with the Minister Interior and Minister of the Transport of U&I, and of course our Minister for the Petroleum, and of course the Governor of Nairobi, whereby we have been trying to drive our points as the legislative is there. The General is requesting for a meeting for a special sitting to lower the petrol stations, and of course we are asking for the same thing, so that the government, the legislature can at least reduce or waive some of the taxation, so that the fuel can come down. And they kindly pleaded with us that the president is coming on Thursday night, and they'll be able to give us the way forward on Friday, whereby they are planning for a meeting, and from there we shall have a meeting together. Actually, we based our trust mostly on Governor Sakanja, because I think he was called as our guarantor, and he referred himself as our guarantor, whereby he tried to persuade us that we trust him that the president will do something when he came back. But it was not reasonable to us, because we understand that in the law, the government has no veto power to say that let us waive this taxation, and under that, we understand that the legal process, it is about the legislative power.
Yes.
To call up the meetings and discuss about the. But because we understand the political of the nation, that there is a state capture, the legislative, it is not independent currently as we speak. As much then
why?
Them to be, yes, the current legislative are not independent.
Then where do you get the confidence to call off the strike if at all you know very well that the president has no authority to all these things? It will have to go to parliament. There's been no discussion at that level. Where do you decide to call off the strike?
We decided to call off the strike because we remember last time the president, as much as don't have that power, the legislative power is the one that can have that power to reduce the price. We remember last time the president dropped the fuel on the top of the rooftop of the car. And the following day, the legislative were in the parliament very early in the morning to execute whatever the president has said, or to legislate whatever the president have executed. So we understand that the power belongs to the president in this country. As much as the rule, the constitution is very clear. The power of the legislative belongs to the president currently. We have to understand the politics of our nation.
Yeah. Okay. Before we let you go, you had made a promise that Matatu's public service vehicles will not hike the fares for the next 7 days. We are getting reports that people are paying almost double their fares. Is that something you agreed on?
Not true. Actually, we have to adjust it by 20%, because we just wanted to share this. Because I really let a member of the public to understand that the fare hike, the vehicle is consuming from 4,000 to 5,000 extra. What is been consuming, and actually all that burden was left to the owner of the vehicles, which is not can only be to land the vehicles. So that can be able to run the vehicle, waiting for the solution. We plead for our commuters to share the cost. We share the small cost with them, and of course the rest they can be able to be bared by the owner of the vehicle. Actually, we are not in the business, and we call upon our customer to understand the situations and to bear with us.
So commuters should expect hiked fares for the rest of the week?
Yes, they should commute, but are relevant, not about 50%, not about the double. It's about when the commuter was to pay 120, should pay something to do 150. Where you used to pay 100, should expect something like 120. Where you used to pay 50, should expect something like 70. Not double. Okay.
One more question. On the Standard today, there's a headline about that it suggests that there may have been some level of betrayal among your colleagues, that there was a meeting with the CSS and some of those people were left out of the meeting. They only learned about the meeting later on. What would you say to that headline?
Of course, let you understand that we have different organizations and a different representative. So actually, we have 3 organizations, and from them we have the main stakeholders, like for travelers, for metros, those are the main stakeholders whereby they don't belong to the organizations. They belong to standalone because they drive the economy in the transport industry. What we used to do, we used to pick the main investors or the main transport stakeholder to represent the others, because of course the boardroom meeting cannot accommodate 800 chairmen across the country. So or the directorship. If you go to the directorship, you may find that across the country we have around 400 and something leadership of the transport industry. All what you do is representative, and we are praying for them because actually we borrow for apology because we felt that their expectations was not met. We never made the right decision. But all what I want to assure them that there was not bribery that happened, so that we can be convinced. What convinced us is that the reducer minimum was, we called for the strike for that 10 shillings to be reduced. And they went go ahead, as much as we stated on Monday that we shall not call off the strike, they go ahead and reduce the price. So one of the factors that at least convinced us that the government have at least a bit of a goodwill, because they dropped that box despite realizing that we never called off the strike.
So mumesikia wamesema hao hawakuwa bribed or something. They just saw the goodwill of the government, and that is why they decided to end the strike. So as I was talking about that man Kennedy Kaunda, the one that was in a red shirt, after Opiyo Wandayi ameongea that night akisema with all due respect, ungemwona jana ako wapi? Ungemwona jana ungesema ni yule wa juzi usiku. Meno yote ilikuwa nje. Vile aliingililia kwa conversation ya Wandayi, jana haungejua ni yeye. He was very happy. Let me just look for the video of the film.
Yes. My name's Dennis Kilia, Secretary General, Truck Association of Kenya. I would like to take this opportunity and thank the government for recognizing transport sector as a very important economic driver in this country. And with that, I don't want to mention more. I will say whatever Waziris have said, that I now call and tell my members to suspend the strike until further notice. Thank you.
Everybody wants to say something, but we don't have the time.
There he goes. Unaona amekuja tu hapo mbele ya press akiwa very happy. You can see the way Murkomen is even looking at him. Unaona? Ako like sasa wewe tumekupanga Wewe tumekupanga tulia. Angalia tu vile Murkomen anamwangalia. Just see. And besides him is Wandayi. Very happy. Hadi Murkomen anachungulia hivi aone hii jamaa itasema nini. Now that tumeshambless with whatever, anyway, the enemy is poverty.
With all due respect.
Ndo huyo anaambia kina nani with all due respect.
And the respect that we have been given today here, as you can see, my sister and brothers and the citizen of this nation, we want to extend that respect to the media and to the nation. What we have agreed here, I can confirm. The CS Mbadi and CS Murkomen are seated here, Wandayi. I'm sorry for that. And
Mnaona mzee amepewa pesa paka akili imechanganyikiwa. Sasa anasema Mbadi instead of Wandayi. This mzee is very happy. You can't know he's the one who need the previous night. Mnaona vile Murkomen hapa amefurahi. Wandayi they were very happy. All these people were very happy because they knew what they had already done. Sasa punda ndio anaumia, and the punda is the mwananchi.
Our able governor that the strike has been,
hadi Viongo mwenye amekuwa na make call akisema they have not been bribed, amesema walichukua Sakaja kama guarantor wao. Ndio huyo mmemwona hapo kando, this Sakaja
suspended. That is what I want our Kenyan citizen to hear. And since we have a nation to build and a government to run, Kenya is ours and we should build it. So therefore, on behalf of our transport stake,
Kenya is ours, we are asked to build. Mmesikia hapo kando Sakaja akisema kabisa. Anyway, I don't know where we are heading as a country.
Stakeholder, our partner and our corporate, on behalf of our TSV, I want to assure them that since we have suspended the strike for give room to negotiation, and if that does not, we are not able to agree, we'll come back for the same. But for today, the nation should run. Thank you very much. Governor Karanta.
New Pepsodent Herbal, introducing a unique combination of natural ingredients with herbal extracts, salt and mint.
Yeah, so that was it. It has happened. Na matatu zimerudi kwa barabara. Na on the same issues of the maandamano, niliona Ruto alikuwa anaongea na hasira sana. Sijui nini namchemsha hivyo. But he was saying, for those who had gone for maandamano who are saying Ruto must go. Imagine Ruto is asking you guys, ati mnasema Ruto anawauliza, what do you mean by Ruto must go? And he also asked you guys, how do you want him to go? So sijui kama ni haelewi lugha ama ni nini. Let me just get a video before I go to hiyo ingine yenye Gachagua alimu-expose. But first, acha nianze kwanza na hii ya OCS mwenye alishikwa because of releasing the protesters.
Tonight we begin with the mystery surrounding the arrest and dramatic and
So does it mean that wale mapolisi wanatetea wananchi wenye wako right watakuwa wanaenda ndani, but those ones who commit whatever they commit, they won't face the hakuna kitu watakuwa wanafanyiwa? But later I saw people protesting about the same.
conditional release of Central Police Station OCS Chief Inspector Dishon Angoya. The officer was arrested by the Deputy Regional Police Commander over allegations of abuse of office after allegedly releasing 64 suspects arrested.
Kip, leo umewasha kamera.
Niko kwa simu bana. Natumia simu.
Nicheze kwanza ama unala kusema?
Acha niombe kidogo tu niseme tuko peke yetu. I've always stated that we are alone as a people. Sasa ndio naambianga Njeru. Wezi stuka kama Gachagua atafanya hiyo kitu. I was explaining to him that kazi ya Gachagua ni collect the mountain people. He's got the most MPs and he can easily gather all of them. So itafika point anasema okay, ni mko peke yenu na iko hivyo. So There are no leaders in Kenya. It doesn't matter what sector you're in. It doesn't matter whether it's a politician, whether it's nurses, head of teachers, head of doctors, MPs, nitumdomo tu. Because I'll tell you the truth, this was the most beautiful way of doing a strike. It's when people stop helping build the economy for Ruto and them lot to steal. You can see they're very happy. But huo mtu mwenye alikuwa amesema ataenda nyumbani na 300, ataenda nyumbani na 300 per day, per one trip. I don't even understand what they're thinking. These people, they are very stupid. Because they have lost customers. Kuna watu wamesema, why should I go to work? Niende kazini nifanye nini? If I'm not making a living, afadhali tu ni hustle. Then we're going to be having a country of thieves. The money is not enough. You unalipwa 20,000, alafu unalipa 12,000 a month. Na uko na rent, uko na watoto, lazima ukule. So I don't even know how Kenyans are surviving now with that fuel price hike, because food will also increase. Yeah, it's true. Parliament needed to do this thing, but at the end of the day, Parliament is. You've just seen this Parliament we have right now. They've been hijacked. They have to wait for that man and the parties massage zake huko. You think he's come here to negotiate anything? He's come here to sleep with prostitutes and do all those stupid things. I know this man. I know him. Hiyo ni kazi yake tu kutembea tembea huko, ataingia huko asema where do we have a good time here? Kwa sababu akunywangi pombe. You know, at least holidays Uhuru zilikuanga tu anaita mtu State House. Anafungua chupa. That was fun for Uhuru, by the way. Huyu pani yake ni very expensive for the nation. Kashako has described it very well. He just said it in a nice way that we are saying it now. Yeah, massage kitugati, 4 women for massage. We know what that is. We know what that is. Every Kenyan knows what massage is, my friend. Yeah. So
He didn't just say the happy ending part.
Yeah, hata Oburu Odinga anasemanga niko na bibi wa kunipatia massage. What do you think he meant? Mnasema niko na kichwa chafu.
Kiprila anapenda mambo ya massage sana. Ni kama anapenda kupiga massage.
Kama upendi massage Jose ni shida zako. Mimi napenda massage.
Sasa ni noma.
That's the only reason. You think kuoa mtu ni tu kuoa mtu ni ati sijui love.
Kipril, huyu Joseph ametupotelea sana. Eleze penye amekuwa. The last time ulikuwa sijui Somaliland juu kipita, alafu after umeland
this guy is trying to create. He's building his life.
Nilikuwa massage hata mimi nilikuwa massage.
The last time I talked to Jose,
unajua kusalimika. Siku hizi aliingia kwa matajiri. Sasa akiwa kwa matajiri atasalimika aje? Ameingia ligi ya kina Rigiji.
Bana, siko hiyo league bana. Me I do hard work. Sasa najua Jose you're hustling bana, si ati mambo ya massage. I know you're working. I know.
Nataka nijaribu kama nitaingia hizi siasa za hii 2027. Hata hao kwani ni hao tu watakaa hizi viti.
So nikikwambia mimi sijui what's going to happen in 2027. I still hold that in my heart. Hata watu kuniexplainia vitu, I tell them I am not sure. I am not sure.
Kutakuwa Messi, niliambia watu kutakuwa Messi and it is going to be itakuwa mbaya. 2027 itakuwa mbaya. Na nimekuwa nikiambia watu hivyo kwa sababu huyu mtu anaonekana kama atajaribu kuachilia hiyo nini, atatolewa hapo by force. There is nothing else that can do. Ukiona, you see how these guys are talking. You see how they are trying to bring like it is a tribal narrative.
Mbona emuardiki bado?
Yeah, but
does not care.
Emuru walijaribu kwa sababu hiyo ni stronghold ya UDA.
You cannot go with that excuse because we won that seat bana. Mi nilikuwa nataka Gachagua kuja tusaidie bana.
Mi ile kitu najua tukijaribu kupigwa ni ya Olkalau. Hiyo ndio hata ninagojea hiyo seat ya Olkalau it will be that one is the one I'm waiting for.
That's your problem, you say.
Gachagua akisema Itumbi anaitisha millions za kufund hiyo whatever.
No, but you saw Itumbi is very powerful, eh? Acheni kucheza na Itumbi. Itumbi is very powerful. Unaona ni ana run government. He's running the government. He's running the government. Unajua I saw a clip of Murkomen saying that this government is being run like a kiosk. I think this government is the one which is being run like a kiosk.
No, you don't understand what Itumbi is. Itumbi is taken the old job of Farouk.
Oh, Farouk was chased away. Si Farouk alienda wapi?
See, he wants to run for office, so he can't do both jobs, huh?
Oh.
Yeah, he's the new Farouk. So you can tell you can already tell that he's a vicious one.
But that game wanajaribu kucheza itawaka. Hiyo game wanajaribu kucheza ya tribal. Wamejaribu imekataa.
Ukusikia Murkomen akisema ati most of the matatu owners are Kikuyus, that is why they didn't strike during Uhuru's time, that's why they are striking during Ruto's time. Then I was like, why bring ethnicity mahali penye mmefail? You just failed to do your work and then we're introducing the issue of ethnicity.
My friend, we're in big trouble. Tuko na shida. But I'm really disappointed, Jose. It was just the best strike. Siwezi kudanganya. That one, ilikuwa normal. It was working. They had no excuse about people on the street. It was pure. We're not working for you. We're not CCC Punda. And once Kenyans get that is the only way we can do it, we've got a last way to go, you know? Got a long way to go. Huh?
Joseph, you are supposed to talk about this because uliona vile hiyo strike ili ninio. So you my experience, you told me you are here. And the way these matatu operators have sold us.
I've got to go. I cannot tolerate this guy.
Hassan. Joseph, you disappeared again. I can see Ellie is in the building. Hi.
Hello.
My network is bad. Hello?
No, your network is not bad.
Oh, ni vile nilikuwa nasikia hakuna response nikafikiria kwani nimetoka nje ya studio.
Yeah, some of us, our views rub people the wrong way here. But if we're going to do it, in order to express our opinions, we will do it because there's no other opinions that is like maybe superior than other opinions. That's how these platforms are supposed to be run. But if people cannot tolerate other opinions, that is their problem to solve. Hata wakikimbia wangapi wakuja hapa wakimbie. Sisi tutaendelea tu. We always take part without putting our voices across. We're there in the background every day. That doesn't mean that we don't have opinions. People come here shouting about tribalism. They bring the topic and then they dismantle the topic that they have introduced, and then they make other people look worse than the position that they have just presented. Up to some extent, if I'm balanced about my opinion, someone says that the commercial enterprise in Kenya is mostly from people of the, say, Asian community, the high-powered businesses, and then a lot of businesses, micro and even mid-level, and some high-powered businesses, mostly run by people from Central. And the Somalis, as you know, they're also very, very competitive. But me, I'm only interested in individuals. So I don't say this or that community have been harassed or targeted, or they're the ones who are propagating violence, contradicting the fact that they're entrepreneurs, but they're also propagating violence during the protests. I don't understand the whole thing. But if someone comes and says that some communities have the advantage, you know, the power, the hegemony, because they're top in, there is nothing wrong with that. What's the point of sulking? Some people come here and say, oh, I cannot stand this guy. Hey, the fact is, even in your own community, you have some of the worst leaders. You had a dictator there who was in power for over 24 years. You have William Ruto, another dictator, in power from when he was deputy president for 10 years, and now another 5 years. I hope he doesn't get another extended period in his dictatorship. How many years are those for that particular community? That's how Kenyans look. They don't come here, you know, sanitizing debates by saying, oh, Eli is a tribalist. So I'm right. The same people who contribute into this topic. And then when they know that whatever they're saying, they cannot qualify or quantify it. They hate facts. They even hate empirical formula data. They hate these kind of things. But they're ready to provoke a debate. And we will come here and say, no, you can't take us to, you can't whitewash us here with simple conversations, you know, that you have the, you know, the authority over others. We have to keep quiet because you're speaking. I am telling you, if this platform of Njiru has just the particular broadcaster who is Valerie now, and one other person who is me, I'm ready to listen to my own voice. Because in fact, it's so interesting, because that means that I don't have to listen to people who are double dealers here, doing agent stuff, you know, coming here. We know them very well. We've known them for years. They always try to accuse others instead of being tolerant of other opinions. And they think that everyone will run away. My point is, the people who present.
He's gone. You can just talk about our normal issues.
Yes. The normal issue now here is because these guys, they always call me a tribalist because I challenge them. They bring tribal debates, and then when they're challenged, they can't stomach it. They run away or they call you names. The last time I was here, they called me everything. I didn't care because they're wasting their time and energy.
Eli.
There's nothing you can do, you know.
Eli, it's okay. I think.
All you do is to spout verbal violence. It's rubbish.
Eli.
Try to shape the economy. Try to listen to those people. The idea Go ahead, go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, I was saying.
Valerie, can I continue?
No, I was
Yes.
saying. I don't know if you're able to hear me. I was saying.
Yes. I can hear you very well. Yeah.
I think it will be okay if you come and address them when they are here. For me, I think we can just continue with the show. Yeah, because
Yeah,
yes,
I am addressing the show. No, I am addressing the show. What I don't like. No. What, I'm addressing the show. What I don't like is people making me a punch bag here at the when.
Yeah, so I think I was going to the next thing, which is about the OCS who was arrested yesterday. I think, Ellie, if you want to address that issue, come and address it when all of them are here, the people that you are talking about. But for me, I'm just here to run the show. And actually, mimi sijai kuja hapa nikasema, oh, I support this leader, ama nikatusi mtu because of something or whatever. But I'm just here, we run the show, we talk as Kenyans, and that is it. So the next thing that I was going to was the OCS who was arrested yesterday. And then I saw some protests by some Kenyans.
Over public order offenses without lawful authority. The arrest sparked public outrage online, with activists and lawyers storming the hospital where the OCS was receiving treatment for high blood pressure. But in a dramatic twist this evening, police dismissed reports that Angoya was being taken to court, terming them misleading. Hours later, the OCS was released unconditionally, raising fresh questions over the saga. Ode Francis reports.
It all began with a police report filed at Langata Police Station under OB number 04-1905 of 2025 at 12:45 hours. The report indicated that Chief Inspector Dishon Angoya, the OCS of Central Police Station, had been arrested by the Deputy Regional Police Commander of allegations of abuse of office. According to the report, the officer released 64 suspects arrested over public order offenses without lawful authority, an action police claim improperly conferred a benefit upon himself. The senior officer was subsequently placed in custody pending further action. Angoya's arrest soon escalated into a medical emergency. At around 3 a.m., he reportedly developed high blood pressure and was rushed to Langata Hospital for treatment. But what began as an internal police matter quickly sparked a public outcry. Outside the hospital, crowds of Kenyans gathered, demanding the immediate release of Chief Inspector Dishon Angoya, some threatening to storm the hospital to see him, forcing police reinforcement to arrive.
He has been arrested and dragged through all those things because he released 48 protesters, allegedly. And it is well within his power, within his authority. It is sending even a very bad message, including to the police service, that if you respect the constitution, if you do what the constitution allows you to do, then you will face retribution and retaliation from this government.
Ruto kushukisha bei ya mafuta ameshika OCS. Ombi letu ni moja, OCS awachiliwe, atibiwe akiwa huru.
The gentleman mwenye tuko naye hospitali is sick. Mimi sijamweka hapa kama mfungwa. Kumwachilia kwa sasa na ile hali yenye ako nayo tutakuwa tunamfanyia injustice.
Inside, officers guarded Angoya's bedside. Outside, activists and lawyers from the Law Society of Kenya insisted he must be presented in court within 24 hours. But as Angoya continued treatment, chaos erupted. Rowdy youth clashed with those who dared to speak to media. Journalists were harassed, and hospital turned into a battleground of law, politics, and public anger. But in a statement to newsrooms, the National Police Service has responded to what they term as erroneous and misleading social media reports, alleging that the OCS Central was being processed for court appearance. Police spokesperson Mushiri Nyaga says the information is incorrect. He further says that NPS has internal mechanisms to address the matter concerning its members. These mechanisms may result either in administrative or disciplinary action. Minutes after the statement, the OCS was released unconditionally.
OCS Angoya Vision is finally a free man. He has been released unconditionally. His family is here and they are processing him, and they are going to decide whether he's going to leave this place or to continue with medication at the the doctors.
Yeah, so yule OCS alishikwa, and then Kenyans were talking about it, and they were even willing to contribute any amount of bail that itakuwa imetolewa wamtoe hapo. So sijui, I can see Kipril, you are back.
Yeah, how unfair is that? I think it is absolute bado niko job lakini story ya leo ni noma sana, because I was expecting us to talk about it yesterday, but you know, I don't think you are around, but it's fine. Acha tu nikupigie kelele hapo. I know we have lives. Sometimes people think we get paid to come here, but we don't. We do it for our, what do you call it, koroho yetu, because we love our nation. So, yeah, that was surprising because an OCS has deemed it in, from his own analysis, he's a cop. OCS is in charge of an area, isn't it? Particular area, like a district or sub-location, constituency, depends on the population. So if a OCS deems it in his experience that the people that he released had not committed any crimes, and maybe his juniors did something wrong, he has the authority to do that. So this is basically what the Rutos, the Murkomans, all these people, as to make us live in fear. To even Kindiki did this, to make us live in fear and also to live in poverty. The poorer you are, the more dependent we are. The poorer we are, the more wanatunyanyasa. So right now, the people who are there, who went on the streets, they went there for a reason. They did not have enough money to support themselves. So arresting the OCS is just a warning shot for the next person who comes in there. It doesn't make sense to me. If he deems that, the other thing is, it's also going viral, that some police officers are not happy with what is happening to them right now. Anywhere they go, kwanza wale article walikuwa sema one term. There was another image of a cop saying one term. So for me, it was uncalled for. I just wish Jose was here because we're having a good conversation about this. If we're not careful, after 2027, this guy has nothing to lose. Hakuna kitu mtamfanyia. He's gonna go in more and more impunity. You know? So, yeah. That is what I believe. Now, what do you think? What is your opinion?
About what? About that police
OCS.
officer being arrested? I think it is just like this government is dealing in a way that if you are a police officer and you are supporting them, if they tell you go and shoot, you shoot and kill, then to them that is okay.
Imperialism.
But if ukireact in na ninio ya mwananchi, then you are not one of them. You should go to jail. That is how this government is operating.
Naona Lex anataka kunimaliza kesho. Naona comment ya Lex. Amesema kuna bastola na ni shoot kesho.
By the way, did you see Kip, did you see that guy? I don't know if it was in Machakos or Makueni. Alinyang'anya police gun akakimbia nayo mbio. I don't know if you've seen the video.
I'm really shocked because I've not had any news. That is kupoteza bunduki hivyo ni it's some serious stuff. It is serious. And they were just running there jokingly. Ilikuwa kama mchezo kwao. Alimtandika. He was wearing yellow. Alafu mwingine alikuwa amevaa Arsenal. I watched that clip a few times. Even trying to figure out who that was, it's not going to be easy. Unless ni mtu wa mdomo kubwa aende kuangalia around that area to find out which junior has a gun. And you could see he was so happy. Alikuwa amefurahi. It's not a good thing because guns in the wrong people. Yeah, it could be causing some armed robberies, and that is where we're heading to Kenya. I was telling people right now, if you compare 5 years ago, even 4 years ago and now, people are getting mugged. It's getting worse and worse. And now we're going to get the point of carjacking. Carjacking zitaanza kurudi tena. Roadblocks zitawekwa. Na yeah, people are desperate. We are hungry. Sorry, I'm just still at the office. So people with violence would start again. It's not a good time. And I think huyu Ruto na kukimbiliza massage zake tu spending about $2 million per trip is not a joke. It's not a joke. Private jet, we talked about private jets. We cannot afford to fly him in a jet. There are teachers who need that money. There are hospitals that need that money. Tuko na Kenya Airways. Kenya Airways is a parastatal. Atumie Kenya Airways kama wananchi wengine. The day the country will be able to afford, this is a third world country. We are a third world country. Hatakuna kitu kama tuko middle ama kitu yote. Only 10% of the population have salaries. Let that sink in. So how many people do you know are on salaries? I don't know many people on salaries. It's either people who have got individual hustles who are going to provide either services or goods back and forth. Maybe unauza chai, maybe unaleta viazi kutoka one area to the other town. Na ule mtu unaenda kuuzia viazi pia ni biashara yake, anauza uko town, or you're a farmer, or even these idiots that we just talked about the other day. I'm not talking about the actual people. Even okay, I used the word idiots that should not have. Why I call them idiots is because of the top guys, the owners. But even Matatu owners are self-employed people. Hata huo manamba, hata huo dereva, hawana salary. There is usually an agreement between the Matatu owner, the driver, and the makanga. At the end of the day, give me my 3,000 and utatengeneza juu yake, hiyo ni yako.
Ndio huyo,
You
acha
know
nikuwekee
that.
huyo jamaa. Acha nikuwekee huyo jamaa alitoroka na gani.
Weka tuone.
It was a very funny scenario. Just a moment. Camera. Acha niweke full screen ndo uone vizuri.
Where's your sura yake? Can you see his face?
Sura huwezi ona, lakini we tulia tu uone. Ndio huyo. Umemwona?
Na alikuwa na
Amevaa
mask
mask.
kiasi. Alikuwa na mask lakini
Amevaa
mask
mask.
iko ni diaper. That's a diaper. Amevaa diaper kwa mdomo.
Yeah. There is the guy. And I also saw this issue ya huyo nanio kuarestiwa huyo OCS. I saw Danstan Omari addressing the same issue.
What did he say?
Akisema he was just saying it was so unconstitutional. I think I had a video of the same. Na by the way, Kip, I don't know if umeona pale Kiminini Didmas Baraza ametandikwa juu ya kusema two term.
Niliona, I saw a bit of it. Alisema kijana yetu kumbe alitandikwa bwana. Sikujua. Wacha nitafute hizo video nikusaidie. Acha niweke kwa laptop nikusaidie kidogo tu. Nitumie hizo ma video.
For saying two term. Acha nikutumie.
Nitumie tuone bwana. Tukue entertained hapa. Acha nione kama plug iko na story. Plug TV. Kuna moja hapa ya plug. It's about 15 minutes. Hebu tuone hii. Give me a moment. Najua my downloads are quick, usijali. Let me switch to laptop. I'm switching. I'm switching. I'm switching to laptop.
Nimekutumia sawa.
Yeah.
Haujaipata Kip?
Naona katit masali chapo bwana. I'm just
Yeah,
standing.
Didmus Barasa he was beaten for saying two term. And I think it was just in his own backyard, if I'm not wrong.
Hey,
Yeah, he was beaten in
I want
Kimilili.
people to see this.
Yeah, he was beaten in Kimilili for saying two term. I think Osoro angefanyiwa hivyo that day. But
Osoro nasikia
Winnie
alivuta bangi
alimwambia
zake huko.
Winnie
Uliona ni
alimwambia I
masterclass
have
za
faith in the chopper.
Osoro alikuwa amevuta mabangi zake allegedly hapo, ndio alikuwa na confidence. Macho zake zilikuwa red.
Alisema mnasema Ruto anapeana pesa, pia mimi nikitoka hapa napeana.
What the audacity? The audacity of saying something like that, honestly speaking. Eh? In a download, eh? In a download.
Yeah, I was so happy when I saw
Nimeona hiyo video
this clip
bana.
of them.
Nimeona adui
Yeah, I
hataki
was
mchezo.
so happy about it.
I know the audience is waiting for it. Hata mimi nangoja kuiwatch. Unajua nimewatch tu kidogo. I want to watch it in full. Nataka kuona akianguka. It's very hard to sell Ruto. Like, there's nothing you can sell for this thing. Yeah?
Yeah.
Ngoja. Democracy. Alex, hebu nitumie tafadhali kwa link, nitumie link.
Alex amepotea, sijui siku hizi nini limfanyikia. Ama pia ameenda masaji kama Ruto. Alex kuja studio when the massage ends.
Anafikiria niko brand base bana. ama yeye pia anatafuta massage. Kama Ruto. Idiot.
Ruto alisema anapata private jet yenye ana spend 5M per hour.
Ruto is an idiot.
Sasa hiyo amepeana
My dad
3
was
bob per
telling me.
kid. Sasa hiyo amepeana 3 bob per kid.
Babangu alikuwa ananiambia ako bado na utoto. Because that is childishness, eh? It is childishness. Like, literally. Unataka watu wakuone alafu nini? What? Then what?
He wants to be everywhere.
Does that mean people will love you more that you're in a big vehicle? Ama nini? Alex, tuma hiyo video tafadhali.
Our president is too available. Na hiyo ndio imemcreatea disrespect. Like ako tu all over. Ako all over. Inafaa president hata ukosa kuongea hata wananchi wa kumiss, but uko tu everywhere, every day, every minute. Utulii. Niliona jana akigombana kipa akisema that anauliza wa Kenya, what do you mean by Ruto must go, and how do you know, how do you want him to go? Hizo ndio maswali mbili aliwauliza.
I don't know any Gen Z. Nafikiri
ama anataka tumuexplainie na lugha gani? Juu kizungu anatuuliza what do we mean by Ruto must go and how should he go? Ama ni kizungu aelewi na si atujui.
Achana na uncle yangu. Ni mshenzi. Understand Ruto is an idiot. Hata huyu Dismas, why is it taking today long? Nachukua long to download. It's taking very long. Yeah, I saw the people for internet walikuwa huko leo across the street trying to fix the fiber.
Hiyo ya Didmas ina take long ama tufanye ingine before hiyo ikuje, ama others will also ninio
Nini hiyo?
Other videos will also,
I'm
let me
downloading two
send
at the
you
same
another.
time. It's very strange. Let me restart this machine. Give me a moment. Narudi sahi.
Sawa, sawa. Kama bado unaenda, let me play this one.
Play it. I'm coming back now.
Sawa. Na nimeona leo Moses Kuria akisema eti Gachagua is killing Kikuyus who are supporting Ruto because of the incident of the lady that was, I don't know, sijui alimwagiwa acid or something. Haya, yeah, I've seen Matiang'i speaking today. Kabla keep ninio, let me play this clip.
Much. I'm certainly not good at this. You know, I've kept hoping. You know, I've kept hoping that I will see an end to, what I normally call very nonsensical conversations in the public space. We are in a crisis. And then let me be very frank about this. As someone who has had the privilege and the blessing of working in the public sector before and serving our country, I understand government very well. I can read what is going on. I can tell Kenyans very sincerely, we are walking down to a crisis, not just because we have, of course, because we have an incompetent government, but because in addition to that incompetence, they have mismanaged the country and every avenues of engagement in a spectacular and historic manner. So I would like to urge our leaders, take time now to address the challenges we face, or at least show a sense of understanding and respect for the public by attempting.
Hi Alex.
Hey, wala ni aje?
Fresh, labda wewe.
Umeamua kuniita huku juu unipe massage. Hivi ndio umesema
Kama yenye Ruto anapewa.
hata paka mzee ukunywa maziwa bana. Wachana na Ruto.
Tuache Ruto akunywe maziwa, tuache Ruto akunywe maziwa yake polepole.
Kuna shida bana. When you are a president, you work so hard man. Mimi sina shida. I have said here several times. There is a written rule. Manifesto yoyote kwa hii dunia, women are part and parcel of the manifesto. Beautiful women, young beautiful women are part of the manifesto. So wachana hiyo manifesto iendelee kufanya kazi. From America all the way to South Africa, you will never stop that. That is part and parcel of how men in power deal with their issues. So if we put that in the conversation, we will never win because we will talk about every leader. So hiyo maneno ya Ruto na wanawake wake wachana. Tulijaribu wakati wa campaign room 350 tukashindwa. Wenyewe wamejitokeza saa hii wakina Oruoba, Karen Nyamu, saa hii wenyewe wamejitokeza wanasema vitu walikuwa wanafanya. So let us not even go back again. You know, I've been hii maneno ya maandamano mimi nimecheka sana kwa sababu Juda, give me a few minutes. Nimekuwa nikicheka sana. If you listen keenly without putting politics and emotions of Ruto must go in this issue of fuel prices in Kenya, you will come to the conclusion that we cannot be able to solve the current trajectory of our fuel prices because the stakeholders are everybody who is who in the political, what we can, not even in the politics, we can say in the corridors of power, because politics is one part and it's a very small part of the corridors of power. In fact, politics is one digit, it's less than 10%. But when now it comes to both local, national, geo, and global politics, the issue of energy is bigger than we may think. And we can never be able to resolve it through maandamano. And it's unfortunate that the politicians are not willing to talk about the truth of the repercussions of what we want to force to happen. Let me give you a synopsis of this. The person who introduced the 8% VAT was Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, which was unconstitutional. Now, let me take you part why he did that. There is no country except just a few pariah states that have what we call VAT. Many countries don't have this bullshit called VAT because it's value added tax. There is just a normal tax that is the tax code that is based on your state of economy, which sometimes is adjustable by the interest rate of your exchequer, for us, which is Central Bank of Kenya. Now, that is econometrics of a larger area that we wouldn't want to deal with macroeconomics right now. Let's deal with microeconomics, which is easier for me and you because that is where it affects us. We are not corporates, we are not banks, we are not governments. It's micro, me and you. We are especially, the standard of living. Now, when he introduced that, the purpose was to repay the Eurobond, which they had already taken, and it was part and parcel of what they paid for their legal fee in The Hague and also for their campaign. That is how we got into this bullshit. Now, we tested the water because these are the same people who ballooned what we call the SGR at the beginning. So when they came in, they came with big mind lying to Kenyans. They ballooned the SGR, they brought up this 4 big agendas, ABCD, and we were duped and lied to, thinking that they really thought this was right. And by the time Uhuru, who started this nonsense, and you remember even last time with the French, this company, the CEO was given 24 hours to get out. What you realize, I don't want to go to the nitty-gritty of it. What you realize is this. We have already put ourselves in a very bad trajectory. And this should be topical. It shouldn't be emotional. This should be topical. Already, we have signed what we call G2G, which we have 2 options. To unilaterally walk away from it or to renegotiate on how we can come out of it with penalties. And both of it the ramification and the penalties are too heavy to bear, because the drafters of it made sure that there is no way of getting out. There is no way of getting out of it. If we get out of it, first of all, number one, our credit ratings in the world will go to junk. And you understand, we are a borrowing country. And already we have so much debt, which is based on our credit rating, which means we are paying. Many people don't know that credit rating of Kenya is fair, which is about, if we were to use the American credit system, between 0 and 850 or 900 in Canada, we are somewhere about 660. We are not 720, which is good. So already our interest rate is so big for every loan that we take. So the moment we mess up with our international and global obligations, the first thing is that our credit rating will go down, which means we will be risky borrowers. Okay, so our interest rate again will go out, and which tells you a bad and sad thing, because right now many people do not know, for every 100 shillings that the taxpayers' money, 80 shillings goes towards madeni yetu. Unaelewa? So already, not and that 20% imebaki, then we are talking about the wage bill, which is exponential again. That's why Ruto cannot do any development in that country, whether we like it or not, because the way we've done things over the years, it's not sustainable unless we just keep on borrowing. So Ruto understood where he was taking us to. Now, secondly, let's put now into effect of what we saw in terms of when we decided that we are not going to allow the first finance bill. Now, if you listened to Ndindi Nyoro, Gisairo, and people who had topical conversations in the media, wachana manene ya politics, who are explaining us why we are on a dead end. When we rejected the finance bill, we gave power to the cabinet and Raila Amolo Odinga and Ruto to sit down and now talk and give us a direction, which was actually even more worse than accepting the finance bill. Now, if you see the issue of now energy itself, wachana vitu zingine, let's deal about energy. We were to go to a 16% VAT from 8 to 16. We refused. Now, what happened? There was a cap of 18 shillings that was already added, whether we liked it or not. And we were not talking about it. Now, the moment it went to the cabinet and they negotiated, then it was brought to parliament. The Molo MP did not know that a 7 shilling again was added on the 18, where they had allied to us that they had taken the 8% from 16 to 8%, we go back to 8%, but on page 349, they added 7 shillings. From 18 bob plus 7, we went to 25 bob, which was more than the 16% that we were crying about. And on that deal, now this is where I have said people do not listen to Muturi carefully. And Muturi also is very careful on what he says. He says it in small bits that you may not understand. There is a very local interview that Muturi had, and he was speaking about the G2G issue, how, he was told, wacha tu basi kama hii itasaidia, but huko hii ni G, hii hapa ya G ni gani? Akaambiwa pana, sijui nini. Play that clip and you see how Muturi is explaining that thing. But where the card comes,
Alex, it is the one that you sent to keep, because I see he's told me that it's the first one here.
No, not the one I sent to keep.
Sichezo ya kwanza, what's I explain? Any different.
So then Muturi ends up now telling us the big picture about it. Is that Now, when we used to go and get the tenders because it was open tender, they closed it. And Gulf Oil took over because it was negotiated in the boardroom. But remember when they came in, one of the problems that they had, they even went to cost. And Rigathi Gachagua was very serious about it, was saying Raila had too much deal in terms of energy last time, to the point that he was politically too powerful in the energy sector. And secondly, they were talking about the issue of the gas politically, not now economically, because they were lying to us. Raila anatengeneza mitungi, not gas yenyewe. So they brought somebody from Tanzania and they told us this is what they were going to do. But essentially what they were telling us is that Raila has a blind investment in the energy sector. And that has a history too, that is so deep, many of you may not understand. And when they say that, wakaanza kupea Raila mchezo, yani shida. And remember, they even went to his company. If you remember, there was a time they went and they wakachapa ma watchman outside Strat, that company, and people started complaining and saying, no, amwezi shika Northland na mkuje kwa company ya Raila, and they stopped there. But when we aborted the finance bill, now this is what Muturi tells us. Ruto stop the open tender system to the small regulators in terms of how we were importing oil, and now the monopoly was put what we called Gulf Oil. Gulf Oil originally was owned by Njohi, who is a Meru, but today the largest stakeholder and shareholder in that company is William Samoei Ruto. But Muturi doesn't stop there. Now, Muturi, as a minister, as an attorney general, says Gulf Oil took over to be what we call G for Saudi Arabia was Aramco, but G, Aramco is a state-owned company by the Saudi Arabia. But for G, it was supposed to be the government of Kenya, but it became the Gulf Oil, which is owned by William Samoei Ruto. But that's not where it stops. And you're going to follow up something that sometimes sisi ni wajinga sana tu, we are fighting wars za watu ambazo hatuoni. Then Muturi says na mzee akapewa kitu. Then he was so reluctant, he didn't want to talk about it. I say na ye kampuni yake pia, it's part and parcel of the G2G, which means Muturi is confirming that when the G2G finally Raila accepted it, his company became part and parcel of the G2G. I want you to put, I'm quoting Muturi, the Attorney General, who was giving us the raw information. Now, when Raila died, before Raila, now this is how power works. Now I've started understanding things that I couldn't understand before. When it was inevitable that Ruto is getting out, Gachagua made a mistake and he rushed to Mombasa because he was supposed to be sworn in. Because the military had seen that he imeenda. Then they converged, they asked Raila, what can we do? Raila came quickly and they sat with Ruto. And they said, we cannot allow again this thing to go back to a Kikuyu. It will be fundamentally wrong, and especially Gachagua is too little. So the lesser evil will take. But before that, they signed a deal. The three most powerful seats that will make sure that Raila now starts collecting the money for his campaign in 2027, he took the Attorney General because he understood that here is where the deals are signed. Attorney General, by the way, is too powerful. I never understood that until Muturi ametolewa juzi, ndio nikakuja kujua kuwa Muturi can sign a deal even in an airport. Naelewa. Muturi has revealed a lot about how Attorney General is too powerful, or an Attorney General can actually stop the president from meddling with the affairs of the country. Now, then Raila took the Attorney General's wakapea Mjaluo. Then, because he wanted to be assured of the monies that is coming, he took the treasury. Plus, to make sure that his deal is finalized and is sustainable for the amount of days that he wants, then he took the Ministry of Energy. And that is how the Attorney General office the treasury and the energy were negotiated by Raila with a dubious lie that is experts to help Ruto. They were experts to help Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, come Raila goes, Buddy looks and say, no, it was Raila who was given this. His family cannot continue. So he has stopped. Buddy has stopped giving money. Yes, the contract is there. They are delivering and everything. But he has stopped giving money to the Odinga family. He said, I'm the exchequer. Naelewa? Now, the war between Winnie, Mama Aida, and Mbadi is not political, my friend. Musiingilie. It is a war of Mbadi looking the amount of money that him as a minister is not getting, but now the family is able to get revenue where Raila has already died. And that war, if you look at it, you may not understand where it's coming from. But now there's a person here who has understood, mimi badala nipiganishe war na wakina Raila Amolo Odinga, why don't I also mess up and do my own bill zikiumana ziumane? So Wandanyi decides to import substandard oil and become the beneficiary. Everybody is fired, but he remains. He remains. Now, Ruto, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Raila Amolo Odinga, all these people must be exterminated for us to resolve our problems in that country. And if we are going to put emotions by kutetea Uhuru, tunatetea Ruto, tunatetea Raila, just know that we are extending our problems forever. The truth is, politically, no member of parliament is going to be able to resolve that. If you listen to the conversation in the Spice FM by my MP Gisairo, who has worked in the oil sector for 80, one of the most sober and mature conversations about the energy sector of Kenya. There was no emotions, there was no one time, it was just a mature conversation in Spice FM. You could know that maandamano will not resolve this. Because even if we were to take Ruto away, hold on. Even if we were to take Ruto away, hold on. Even if we were to take Ruto away as a country, we have signed a contract that is binding. And if we were to get out, we will have severe penalties. And this it is part and parcel of the OPEC. Whoever again we are going to buy oil from, we will still have severe. The problem is that these people have already even taken our own oil, Talo Amanini, through the Gulf, and that is what they were saying, that even what we thought we had, we do not have. Essentially, the energy sector of Kenya has been pre-planned by other countries for the next 25 years. It does not matter who becomes the president. Ruto has already auctioned the country. Now you can go on and ask the question. Mumeenda wapi tena? Mumeniacha hapa, kumbe naongea peke yangu kipi? Hao watu
I think ilikuwa network. Sasa hivi tunakusikia. Sijui kama unatusikia.
I can hear.
Yeah,
nimepata video yako ya Muturi. Hebu play that one for Muturi. I want to see him say that, Valerie. It's the third video. I want to see that explanation of G to G. Valerie.
Before the House of Parliament not later than 30th of this month. And therefore, our call for a special sitting and for the removal of VAT and the suspension and or total exclusion of the extra 7 shillings charged on the fuel levy should be at this time and be considered during this special sitting because the ramifications of this historic and abnormal increase in the cost of fuel affected last night enormous, and the implications will spread to all sectors of our national economy and affect the socio-economic fabric of this country. In conclusion, I just want to amplify the point raised in our statement that indeed, as Kenyans would recall, when William Ruto took over the reins of government in 2022, is when immediately after he had made several promises that we needed to address the issue of the many taxes in the fuel sector. And many Kenyans will recall that he never shied to criticize the former administration. He said that there will be a review of the many. In fact, in his own words, he put those levies at 15. He said they're going to be reviewed, and therefore every Kenyan felt that when he came up with the idea of a G2G arrangement, he was indeed going to address that issue of the mini taxes. The matter did come to me as Attorney General of the Republic, brought to me by the CS then, Davis Churchill, the chairman of the President's Council of Economic Advisors, David D., and one of the other advisors, Mr. Hassan Mohammed. But I just raised one question. Yes, Saudi Aramco is owned by the Saudi government. It is therefore a government company. ADNOC is owned by the Abu Dhabi government. ENOC is owned by the Emirates. So in fact, indeed, it's just an acronym. So I raise the issue. If it's going to be a government to government, what is the government on the Kenyan side? And of course, the excuses were used that, there was a pressure on the Kenyan shilling because the oil marketing companies were demanding not less than 500 million shillings every month to import fuel into the country. And that now the arrangement was that Kenya was going to be given a 6 months window before paying for the fuel that will have been delivered. But surprisingly, the government of Kenya chose not to use the government-owned National Oil Corporation, NOC, or the Kenya Pipeline Company, KPC, to represent government on the Kenyan side so that the equation makes sense when you talk about G2G. Instead, the government of Kenya purported to advise the oil importing companies, the IOCs, the three from the Middle East, to nominate locally companies that government purported to have interest in. And those companies, the three that was nominated, are the ones led by Gulf Energy, in which William Ruto controls more than 3/4 of its shares. Indeed, as Kenyans would know, this Gulf Energy is the company that bought out the British consortium that's dealing with the Turkana oil. And therefore, it is no wonder that we have never seen a reduction in the fuel prices, because William Ruto is right in the middle. On the Kenyan side, he is the G. That's why we are calling on William Ruto to now cease these arrangements. And that's why we are saying Parliament should actually be the one in the forefront to call for scrapping of this so-called G2G arrangement, so as to address the plight of the common person who is going to get the effects of this astronomical and abnormal increase in fuel prices. Thank you.
Dan. I can see Helen is saying we need a really strong, intelligent, sober leader to deal with Ruto's mess. Matiang'i can unravel the mess. And then Anne is saying that what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose their life? They have stolen so much at the expense of Kenyans.
You see, I want you to know this. The sign
Alex, before you continue, what was the name of that MP? Could you type it down for me? Because these videos are sinashikana vizuri. The one at Spice FM. Bisairo.
G. Let me type.
All right. Sorry, Alex, for interruption.
Nimeitype vizuri Alex ama nimekosea?
Yeah, Gisairo.
Yeah, you can carry on kama bado keep anatafuta.
Yeah, what I was saying is this. I want you to just go to Google, just to preempt ourselves and understand the mess that Ruto has put us in. I want you to just go to Google and type, if Kenya decide to negate the G2G with Aramco or the Saudi government, what will be the ramification? And I want you to understand what the precarious position that Ruto has put our country in. So that people can understand that this issue must be dealt once and for all. And we must understand that.
Can you repeat, Alex, so that I type on the
on the other you can use your own words that if Kenya negates the G2G contract with Saudi Arabia, what are the consequences? Okay, so because look,
the Aramco, right?
Yeah, Aramco. If Kenya negates or cancels the G2G contract that we have with Aramco, what are the ramifications or the consequences? You see, we have to understand this. Kenya must tighten the belt and understand we have to go through one of the hardest, what economically we called austerity measures, whereby we are going to deal with our budget. For instance, I may not like what Zoran Mamdani completely did in New York, but it was overdue. For over 20 years, there was trade deficit and budget deficit throughout for 20 years in New York. And that really brought a lot of problems in terms of hyperinflation, the cost of living, all these things. Yeah, just hold on. Now, Kenyans need to know, until we tighten our belts and balance our trade and our budget, we are still going to have this problem. So far, number one, Kenya has the highest energy problem in Africa. We used to be 18. Today, ask any investors. We are at 40% in our energy. Why? Because even this issue of we are solving today, we were not just solving oil and oil products, because our generators like KPLC use oil and gas to generate. Subsequently, no sooner they add, the electricity bills also go up. And you can understand the second problem we are having. Direct foreign investment is going to be almost impossible in Kenya because our corporate tax, again, right now, it's on a record 45%. Who is going to invest in Kenya if, before even they start investing, 45% of their profit is gone? Unaelewa? And that is where you had Matiang'i say the other day he was in the airport and somebody was telling him that we have to move our companies to where? To Rwanda because of this. So the energy issue is bleeding our economy. And the Kenyans need to understand you cannot leave it in the hands of the Matatu sector. These are Nina Kompoops who cannot understand. For them, they are looking at only what? Fuel inside a Matatu. Unaelewa? That's now my point. When you allow Matatu people to negotiate for us, it's unfair.
I have a question for you, Alex, on the same matter. So now how are we going to handle the issue of FDI and the multinational corporations that are in Kenya?
And that is why I'm saying we were seated the other day expecting the Matatu, those minions, to negotiate for us. I mean, honestly, the whole country, do they even know the magnanimity and the scope of the problem? I've just tried to give you, in essence, the problem we are having. And then we were trying to resolve one drop of rain in the ocean. That guy who was saying no deal here, does he have the scope to understand the problem Ruto has caused in that country? That us going for a strike is a solution? It is not a solution. We have a bigger problem and we need to magnify it so Kenyans can understand that, my friend, were we waiting for the Matatu sector to resolve our problem? So now let's start the debate.
Mm-hmm. Alex, umejimute, I think so. Ama ni mimi ndo network yangu mbaya? Are you able to hear me, guys? Ama ni Alex amejimute?
No, sometimes when he's driving and as you on a police, he has to be careful. Anaweza kuwa abruptly muted. So he's there, he's still there. Bado ako. Just give him, maybe he needs to turn the vehicle. Nimepata huo MP hapo.
Decided. Oh, there is a video over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex amepotea kama tunataka kuongelea multinational corporations. Anyway,
Hajapotea, bado wanarudi.
Yeah, come back. Yeah, it's okay. Ni video number
3 bado. Si bado niko na ile yako ya Ditmas, ama unataka kuona Ditmas kwanza?
Looking at taking these to parliament where we know issues to do with amendments perhaps to these levies would be tabled to see the changes that Mwananchi wants to see.
You see, I do agree with you that yes, we can have these as legislative measures taken in the House, but as I've already told you, is that the way the current and in Africa in general, even if you take it there, it will just be your say. They will still have their way because Parliament also is a democratic house, and a vote has to be cast. A vote has to be cast, right? So, and once that vote has been cast, it's Parliament. I cannot exclude myself from it. Yes. I am part of that Parliament. You see, in 2022 went to the election, right? 50% plus something on top did elect William, right? William is the president. I cannot say he's not the president of Kenya.
Yes.
So democracy is whereby the majority dictate over the minority. 51% are dictators over the 49%. That's the reality. So yes, there are elements of, but you see, some of these things are not just coming up. Let's take an example of the oil prices. Go back to the 2024, and we tell you where these problems begin. The 8% that was just being reversed a month ago, when did it come into being?
2023, I think.
Yep. 2023, right?
Yeah.
Some of us raised it and said, you're getting yourself in some deep mess. We are one of the few countries in the world who impose VAT on fuel. And And remember, VAT was not there until Uhuru's time when they brought in the first 8%. It never used to be there. And it's actually very, not very sensible to have VAT on fuel, because fuel is actually the driver of literally everything. So you cannot put VAT on it. Then in between the finance bill, while all of us were focused that the finance bill had collapsed, something got sneaked in. I raised it.
In Parliament?
In Parliament.
You raised it?
When they brought the amendment to the finance bill itself, a clause was sneaked in there. So, you know, it's a big document. So somewhere in page 324, something was sneaked in there imposing the 7 shilling RMLF increase. I remember raising it, and then I remember that time the chair of finance, Kimani Kuria, Molo MP, even calling me to the bar. There's a place we consult there, just in front of the speaker, or those members of the opposing side, right? And told me there's nothing like that in the amendment. I told him, did you read your own document? Because it's signed by you. And then when I showed, he had to run to the speaker. I'm not aware how this thing got sneaked in here. And to be very honest, he didn't know.
Was it recalled?
Remember, the whole thing fell.
Indeed.
But once it fell, they went through cabinet. So the 7 shilling was still introduced through the cabinet. Because here it was even illegal to be in there. Because once you're doing the amendments, right, at the committee stage, you are amending something that was there in the original bill. So this one was never there. So what are you amending? You can't amend something that was not there. So it was something just being sneaked in. But the whole bill fell. So they went, used the cabinet, the CS at that time. That's how it was introduced. And therefore, your fuel went up by 8% on VAT, and now another 7 shillings on RMLF, which they've now securitized.
Why
so
was
even
that
if you
illegal?
Want,
from what you're saying, at that point, because here we are at a crossroads now that's affecting things today that was done years ago, 2-3 years ago. Now, what is the illegality of that 7% increase on the RMLF?
It's a 7 shillings.
7 shillings, I beg your pardon.
18, you know,
to 25, which is what we're dealing with
number
today.
One, these are things they even don't do public participation. Many people never even knew that it had happened.
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew. And some of us told them, these things will come to bite you one day. For your information, I have 19 years experience in the petroleum industry. Actually, that's the only industry I've worked. So I told them these things will bite you. So they used to use a very weak way of bringing it in. Daytime, on 14th, when they are announcing the new price for the next month. That's how these things have always been introduced. Like that time, the fuel price was to drop by 9 shilling. So that was the best time to sneak it in. So introduce the 7 shilling and announce a 2 shillings drop. Just look when the 7 shilling was introduced. That month, what happened? You were announced to that the fuel had dropped by 2 shillings. But essentially, the fuel was to drop by 9 shillings. So you as Kenyans were happy that the fuel, you know the way the media, you guys put it here, fuel goes down by 2 shillings, right? But actually, fuel was to go down by 9 shillings.
So
a permanent figure now had been introduced into the formula.
But now the question is that when you look at this 7 shillings that everybody pays every time you purchase fuel.
Yes.
It is over.
Now, 2 things you get from there. The first one, the 7 shillings, once it was introduced, which was illegal because it was an amendment, we allowed it to go through the cabinet. Once the cabinet took over, they sneaked it again by force. Now, I want you to pay attention what he says, because I had to go back and Google and understand, what is this guy telling us? He's saying, once the cabinet did that, now on the 7 shilling, they securitized it. I want you to replay that so that you can understand the shit we are in. They securitized the 7 shillings. And later on, Gisairo said, we introduce a new permanent figure that we cannot take out. of our system. Now, do we really understand the problem we are having? We don't. That is why we are agitating the Matatu sector to handle a problem that is already embedded within our own economy, and there is nothing we can do. It is something that Parliament knew they were doing an illegal thing, or it's something rather as we gave power to Ruto at that particular time when we said we don't want that finance bill, and power was given to the cabinet, and the cabinet did what best suits them. Now, the question is, how do we reverse that figure? How do we securitize that figure? How do we deal with issues better on without kwenda maandamano, so that that permanent figure does not project kila mwaka at sasa we will be dealing with that? That should be the conversation we'll be having.
Well, so Bundi, there was something that you were talking about, the multinational corporations in Kenya, and the reason as to why maybe they want to go, because we know that they carry a great contribution to a country's economy, and they also influence decision making. So, do you think that these oil companies have greatly influenced decision making in our country as a host state to them, as the multinational corporations who are running businesses in our country?
You know, those that cut deals earlier and know the government, they are not paying taxes, and therefore they do not bear the burden. But they
So
do
they are evading.
bankroll the politics of Kenya, like Safaricom. Safaricom pays no tax. They bankroll the system.
Okay. There was a question that you had asked me here of what will happen to Kenya if it cancels the G2G agreement with the Saudi Aramco. Let me just try to read it to the people. Canceling Kenya's government to government petroleum deal with Saudi Aramco and other Gulf partners risks severe legal liabilities, multi-billion shilling breach of contract penalties, and a severe destabilization of foreign exchange market.
Remember the reason we went, and Muturi said this. The clip I wanted you to play earlier is not this. Look for Muturi's clip where he's seated with another guy, a Kikuyu guy. They are talking. At some point, they almost spoke Kikuyu, and he's explaining to him how Ruto duped him. You can look for that. Now, what? No, not today. About 2-3 weeks ago. Now, if you look at the reason why Ruto duped us to go to G2G, is because there was a time we had a dollar crunch in the whole world. Americans had refused to give dollars to world so that they can do business with. At that particular time, it was almost impossible to get enough dollars because remember, the petrodollar is what actually the business of oil uses. The crude oil is in terms of dollars. So what happened is that to buy oil or petroleum product, you needed about $800 million dollars a month, which they could not get. So Ruto duped them to do that. Now, the problem is this. When we get out of G2G, our foreign exchange liquidity is going to be affected because the demand and supply of Kenyan money with downgrading of our what? Our credit, it's severely going to impact us. And therefore, it's going to become even more expensive to buy oil.
Oh, I think Bundi, there is something that happened. I was just trying to find hii video ya JB Muturi talking about the G2G. I think he'll just come back. I can see Anne, you are asking. No wonder Chirchir was quiet. I think she's the one who advised Ruto. What is
So
the period of
I think
the,
I'm driving. That is why my network is not stable. So acha
the
tu
discussion
nimalize kusema hii so that
kuna swali umeulizwa kuna swali umeulizwa hapa Alex. What is the period of the G2G?
I think it was 10 years. I think that Muturi was asked that it was also hidden. It's not something that even Muturi himself, because Muturi also needs to go to court and face the consequences because he signed things as, you know, because an attorney general is a legal advisor to the government.
Of the government, yeah.
Remember, at some point, Muturi himself refused to be part and parcel of the housing levy and the housing bullshit because he understood the consequences that we are building houses on land that does not belong. And therefore, the serious legal consequences that the counties and the national government are going to face and the ownership of those homes in the future, he himself spoke about it and said, look, I'm not going to be part of it. Remember when cabinet was being held, the launching and everything, Muturi totally refused because he understood the conmanship in it. Now, on the issue of Mafuta, Muturi too understood, but he confirms that he signed without his signature, because there are a lot of things Muturi refused to sign that obviously really helped that country. Our country could be far behind an even worse situation. But on this again, I don't know how Muturi too may not face serious consequences on it. But when asked about the issue, how many years, he doesn't even know himself because the final document looks like aliekanga tu, probably alikuwa tipsy ama something of the sort. I'm not sure. That's an allegation from my side because how he speaks now, and given the fact that he signed, I cannot reconcile. Unaelewa? Because he goes further to explain everything that actually is true, that the G2G is a personal property of William Samoei Ruto. Now, if he knew that, why would he go on? And the thing is that that contract, we don't even know how long the real contract is. It is one of those contracts ambayo Ruto copy-pasted from the SGR that you cannot say the truth. Remember when they came into government, they wanted to reveal the information of SGR and they were warned. I think Murkomen was the Minister for Transport. He was bold and brave enough to throw tantrums and say, we will. But he was told you will face severe consequences. You cannot reveal this. So such kind of blind deals are part and parcel of what Uhuru did with SGR and now Ruto has done with G2G. And that is what I'm saying. We have a serious crisis that cannot be solved by the Matatu sector. Matatu sector is just one drop of rain in the ocean. They don't even know the magnanimity and the scope of the problem. That's why people like Chirchir, people like David Ndi, people like so on, so the people who understand the problem are so being dropped silent because they know where we are headed. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well. Alex, you mean this issue of fuel and whatever? What do we need to solve it? Because if I have seen here that we might face some charges if they cut the deal with the Saudi Aramco, and also is the deal does the deal have a deadline, or it is just something that once they entered into, it is that way?
Do we know when the Chinese government will stop being part of the ticketing SGR? Have we ever gotten that answer yet?
No.
So here we go again. Copy paste.
So even if Kasongo leaves power, bado the person who enters in will just should just be prepared to deal with the same thing.
You know, the multinational companies have one law that colonization is not political anymore. Is economic colonization. So neo-colonization is part and parcel. When these people sit down to see how they're going to sabotage us for the next 50 years, that is what they do. So for you, you think the person who crafted this is only Ruto. No, I mean, companies and countries. That's why you see if the French president comes and he can shout at us because he knows the powers they have over us for years to come. So part and parcel of how we can deal with this is anarchy and the revolution. I mean, whoever comes in has no obligation because you're building a state from bootstrap, the same thing that happened to Rwanda. There's a country, was it which country negated and had to renegotiate? It's the Ghana. We can also do what Ghana did. Remember, Ghana got itself to a point it couldn't pay its debts anymore because for every 100 shillings, Ghana was paying actually 100 shillings to all the debts. There's nothing that had remained for it anymore. To do what? To pay salaries. I mean, everything they were getting was going kwa madeni. So what did they do? They defaulted and they refused to pay. And actually, the Chinese came on the table, the World Bank came on the table, IMF came on the table, European countries came on the table. They renegotiated their debts again. And this time around, Ghana was very clear, and it says, we are not going to put anybody. Do anything you want. Kill us, but we are not going to pay 100 out of 100 shillings to 100. How are we going to live? That's complete auctioning of our own livelihood and our country. So I don't know the deal that they got, but we thought there was going to be collapse of the entire system. But it looks like Ghana is still surviving. So I think we have to be brave enough to have a leader who will tell the international community enough is enough of these debts that Nani has told us for years, anaitwa Nani, Jimmy Wanjiki, that we have odious debts that really do not belong to us. So we need to deal with that once and for all, because I think Ghana found out that they had odious debts and they dealt with it. And I think that is why topical conversations are very important. But manene a 1 term, 2 term, maybe once a week. But now in Guinea, a topical whereby we ask ourselves, where are we and why are we here? And that's when we will realize that obviously then we might not need some of these people we think they can be the president because they are part and parcel of this. And if you look at all this, what is unveiling right now, it looks like Gachagua understood what was happening. Muturi understood what was happening. I think Muturi has big shares in the oil sector too. That's what they are not telling us, because I was looking at non-shareholdership of the biggest shareholders when it comes to the energy sectors of that country. I mean, the who is who. I mean, in Kenya, from Raila, from Gachagua, from Uhuru, all of them. I mean, most of their shares are in the energy sector. Most of their shares, apart from the banking, they are in the energy sector, heavily invested in the energy sector. What does that tell you? That is where big boys fight.
So that is why most of them have been quiet on this
I
whole
mean,
issue. Because the other day, what people here were saying that, why is the opposition quiet about this whole thing? Why is the opposition quiet about it? Then we were like,
yeah, it's bad manners to talk when food is in your mouth, Valerie. I mean, how do you speak when there is food in your mouth? I wish we understood that nobody's negotiating for us. That is what I want to dawn to everybody here, that look, nobody is really negotiating on behalf of us when it's coming what we actually having here. Why? Because we are in such a mess. Look who is in the energy committee. I want you to go to parliament and read for me all the people that are in the energy committee. Be honest enough and understand who is in the energy committee, and ask yourself, who is going to negotiate for you and me? I mean, I think we are taking a wrong trajectory in trying to resolve this issue. You saw today, even the taxi community came out and say, we do not accept what the Matatu sector. The only thing that the Matatu sector has is the power to stop people from going to work. And actually, the engine of the country actually is partly with them. But for them to grasp the scope and the delicacy of the whole issue is beyond them. It is beyond them. And that is why on various, if you listen even Ndindi Nyoro when he was speaking, the whole issue, I may not like him as a politician, but he does give us, clues on some issues that obviously may not be the whole truth, but somehow, dots that you connect and you come to realize, hey, where are we, bana? Kumbe hatuna nchi. We are saying Ruto must go. Kumbe sisi ndio must go, sio Ruto.
but people, it was being said that even if Ndindi Nyoro is talking, he's one of the people that has more shares in the Kenya Power and Lightning Company. Then what is he telling
He
us?
was holding them on behalf of William Samoei Ruto at that particular time. Why? Because William feared. So my cousin Millicent Omanga was part and parcel of that. Ndindi Nyoro was part and parcel, and many people. It's only that we protect Ndindi Nyoro. The people who held. Look, one of the reasons why Keter, the former minister for energy, who was the senator for Nandi Hills, couldn't get in good relationship with Ruto anymore, is because of his appetite for corruption in the Ministry of Energy. And he kind of reached a point and said, no, hata kama sisi ni marafiki, this is too much. And that is why he has paid the consequences of telling William Samoei Ruto, no, unaelewa? So Ndindi Nyoro only pays because it has been projected and we believe that it was only Ndindi Nyoro. No, Ndindi Nyoro was having all these shares on behalf of William Samoei Ruto. There are many other individuals, including Moses Kuria, who did that in the Ministry of Agriculture. Kiunjuri was basically holding that ministry because of William Samoei Ruto, and everything that was happening in all those parastato was behalf of William Samoei Ruto. So sometimes I feel it is unfair for Ndindi Nyoro to pay for everybody. He should pay for his own consequences. But let us name everybody that has been part and parcel, of this balloon.
Anne has answered you on the question that you asked about SGR, saying that today the court said the SGR contract should be made public. Alex, you are the one who had asked about the SGR thingy. Wanasema koti imesema ikuwe made public. Things to do with SGR. Then
Over our dead bodies, it will never be made public. Those are theatrics of the court. China told them, try and you will see. Murkomen thought he could do that, and they were told, try and see.
then she's also saying that if the government could cancel the Rironi road contract at a cost, we should also cancel the G2G deal at a cost.
The problem with Rironi is ni kidogo. But imagine, we are talking about what drives the economy. You tell me, the biggest shareholder of OPEC is Saudi Arabia, the Aramco, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, if they want us to pay the consequences in terms of sanctions and make us an example of anybody who signs a contract with them and negates it, how severe will that be? Do you get the repercussions we might go? Remember even last time when we were not even able to pay, we were almost defaulting the Eurobond, and Uhuru had have a national talk, and we had a national conversation about it. Do you remember the repercussions we were supposed to pay on the global market? So let us not be careless and saying Rironi Road, my friend. It's like your grandmother having consequences there in the village and thinking that when the CEO of mama yako aenda nyanya yako aibe kuku kule nyumbani, you think the consequences is the same as mtu kuiba pesa in Safaricom. Unaelewa? Na freezing Safaricom. So what anyways, si ndio? Lakini who is going to affect mwingine? Kuku has nothing to do. So Rironi is a small thing. We can pay the consequences, live without that road. But the moment we pay the consequences of the energy sector, ask a country called Zimbabwe. The moment they took away the white farmers from their land, the consequences they are paying until today, that's when you realize that neo-colonization is a very difficult tool. What we call multinational companies are like parameters to make sure that to a certain point we cannot grow. Look at Nigeria. Even Nigeria itself has to deal with its internal issues. They are still paying for the oil contracts they signed for the next 20 years, even though right now they have the Dangote refinery, which actually is able to do what? To absorb all the oil that they need in that country. So they have not negated the contracts they signed for the next 20 years. Despite them having sufficiency of fuel right now. So they are paying them as they are solving their own problem and getting a deal on how to come out of it because they understand the international consequences that were. So, and if Kenya wants to go that route, well and good. Why? The leaders will just get out of that country and be able to live in other countries. Me and you know that. But do we want to go the route of Zimbabwe, whereby there were no foods on the shelf? You want, because in terms of production, we can't even produce toothpicks, matchboxes, peke yake hatuwezi. basic commodities like salt still we import. Are we ready to deal with international consequences, and how long and what will be our state? I think Kenya needs to rethink about that.
And on another issue, Alex, I've not seen any of the leaders talking about maybe the import substitution model, or even the president about this import substitutional model, where we can produce what can sustain us locally, and now we export the excess. Their focus is not on that. The local industries kuna zenye zimeanguka and whatever, and I don't know, it is not Ruto who has deals only. It is most of these people who are in government who are engaging in these deals. Na kama this is the first term and they have already engaged in these deals, it means that if we give them a second term, they'll engage in more deals which will bring us a lot of consequences. And do you also think, Alex, do you think the import substitution model can work for this country?
How can it work on the basis that the Bureau of Statistics doesn't function? Because what really helps in terms of gauging a country into production is our Bureau of Statistics being honest in terms of what we produce and what is the deficit and where to get it from and how to negotiate. So our Bureau of Statistics, I don't even know if it is functional. So where do we gauge it from? Who tells us what deficits do we have? What production do we have?
The other day they gave statistics, and the government and some of the people who are in government were saying that those are sponsored headlines. They gave a report the other day.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example that was the latest. I think you can remember that was laughable. The sugar board right now is not fully constituted, and therefore they cannot sit down and be able to import any sugar out of the country. And if you can go look at hindsight, there was containers that came for sugar that they say they had ordered. So when the chair of the Kenya Sugar Board was asked, he said, I don't know who imported the sugar because we don't even have the capacity to import sugar because the board is not fully constituted. So we cannot even sit down. So whoever that said we imported the sugar, we don't even know. So they followed. Go look at that clip. Somebody look at that clip and put it on and see the circus. So the journalist, who is an investigative journalist, kept on going from place to place to understand who imported sugar, how it was imported. And then the guy was saying that the local capacity that already we have what? We have surpassed the production, and therefore we shouldn't even, actually the government needs to buy from the factories, especially the Kibos one in Kisumu, so that they can put them in strategic reserves. So any importation of sugar is totally illegal. And they followed, they could not got that. So the whole issue of saying that Kenya Bureau of Statistics is able to help us, that quota thing that you have said, it cannot work because the institutions that are the firewalls, okay, of the factories and industries in terms of production and gauging and knowing the price index don't function.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And another question, Alex, now that you've talked about sugar, but if we are able to produce sugar locally, then why are we importing it? Is there some hidden agenda or hidden something about the same issue?
The thing is that we liberalized you can look at liberalization of economies. The Ethiopia economy is partially liberalized, which means they have closed part of the economy that you cannot enter into. Uganda has also closed part of the economy. For instance, in Uganda, you cannot import eggs. Kenya cannot export the eggs from Tupeleke Kule. They've totally, in terms of farming, there are things they will never import come rain, come sunshine. Kenya, we are fully liberalized. We have not closed any part of the economy, which means we are a free flow of goods. It is buyer-seller agreement. So whoever that is talking about the price quota and so on and so forth protection is coming from a point of ignorance. Our country is fully liberalized.
So it means in industrialization through this through this import substitution model cannot work in Kenya. It can't.
No, the question is, who is going to gauge it? You know, even the name you are using, it means we must gauge and know what we produce, what we don't produce, so that we can do what? Balance. So who is going to tell us?
Nobody.
We don't have institutions that are, in fact, those who are supposed to are actually the ones who are actually importing.
I had when I was looking at the finance bill kidogo, I even saw a place where that tutakuwa tuna import paka animal feeds. Hi, another question that I have for you, Alex. The rural development model, where I think maybe the government could create industrial cities and bring the government services closer to the people. How do we make this one work? Why can't the government put maybe or put money in creating some industrial cities based on the things based on the economic activity that county or specific area in the grassroots regions are producing? Because we are tired of these things of stadiums and whatever.
Good question. With all my heart, I've never liked Moses Kuria as a politician. But as a minister for the ministry he was given, if there was a person who had a passion with his work and with all honesty, was as Moses Kuria. And he tried to work with all the governors so that he could, in his heart, he believed William Samoei Ruto when he said the industrial complexes that were setting up. But the moment they realized that it's going to cost those people who deal issues na importation, they took that guy out as soon as possible. And once they took him out, you've never even, if I ask you today who is the minister for that ministry, you don't even know. Tell me out of your head. Who is the minister for that ministry?
The ministry of what? Trade.
The one that Moses, yeah, the one that Moses Kuria had.
Which ministry? Trade?
Yeah, trade and industry.
Is this guy called? It's a Kikuyu name. Let me just a minute, Alex.
No, imagine telling me a Kikuyu man. Imagine.
Okay, I remember it was a Kikuyu name, but I don't remember. Okay, just a second. Sini kama tu IBC na Ethocon venye watu hawamjui sahi. Anaitwa Kinyanjui. Alex Kinyanjui. I don't know if you're still there, Alex. I've answered your question. He's disappeared. But I'm sure he'll come like maybe in the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm here. I've not disappeared. I was just,
Kinyanjui.
yeah, Lee Kinyanjui. So, but the question is, have you ever seen him commissioning anything?
No.
So, when you talk about why can't, now let's go back now to your question.
The industrial sector.
Yeah, who do you think Ruto has a goodwill for that, given the fact that the person he chose was a political appointee just to give him a job because he had missed power? Ruto is a good politician, and I've always said if I have to be a politician, I'll be Ruto himself, because he knows how to balance Kenyans, and Kenyans have agreed to be balanced that way. There is nothing that Ruto is going to do that will benefit any Kenyan. Whatever good ideas you have is because you are young, projective, and you're trying to start life. I think I've come to the conclusion that Kenyans must save themselves. Politicians don't represent you. The moment you get to that parliament, you come to know that whatever you think when you are out of power is not how you think when you are in power. Even when you are in power, you come to realize there is little you can do. There's a clip whereby Sifuna actually spoke like that, that the Kenyans know that we don't even have power to do anything for them. I don't know if you remember that clip where Sifuna spoke and said, Kenyans do not even know that they themselves don't have power in as much as once they get to parliament.
I haven't seen that.
There's a place Sifuna confesses that the way our legislature model was designed post 2013, we are so toothless, more especially the Senate. It's just a house of noisemakers with, they cannot even subpoena you. I don't know. I mean, let's go back to your question. Your question, we are not able to, and we will not. It's based on the goodwill of the president. Once we have a presidency that does not care about that, there is nothing we can do. In fact, Njonjo warned us and told us that even President Moi was not powerful. The reason why this president is even more powerful is most of the counties do not actually make their own money. They depend on the national treasury to run their counties, and therefore they have to pay servitude to the national government. Now you can imagine 47 governors paying servitude to the national government. That's why the other day Natembeya was making a lot of noise when Murkomen went to see him. Kesi zake zikapotea, and bado tunamuita tu ndume.
But Bundi, there was a time I think when I was doing my research concerning the rural development model of maybe bringing the industrial parks close to the sources of production, to where various counties do different economic activities. I saw that there was a year, I think it was a strategy in the 1980, where Moi came with the district focus for rural development, but which focused on bringing services closer to the district, in each district. But it didn't work, most especially in agriculture and something. So, but I think, in my own opinion, it is politics that kills these dreams. Are you together with me, or you have any other perspective of what kills the rural development model of industrial cities?
Actually, Moi model could have worked, and it did work. My mom worked in the provincial administration, and they used to have what we used to call district development board or provincial development board, and these were powerful boards that actually helped farmers not only get paid in time, but through companies like Kenya Seeds Company, Kenya Irrigation Board, Kenya Fisheries, those institutions that used to help farmers, what in economics we call cottage industry. Cottage industry are the ones that basically are next to Mama Mboga and Boda Boda, basically. So, and that was the driver engine in the economy of India, by the way, by emphasizing on what we call the cottage industry. Now, what Moi did, hold on.
Okay. Yeah. But before Bundi comes, I'd like also our contributors upper comment section. I'd also like you to tell me about the rural the rural development model. We had also talked about the import substitution model, and now we are at the rural development model. Yeah. So Budi had said that when Kuria was, yeah, sure. I remember when Kuria was CS for trade and industries, it was another issue that he brought on table. But now, since it became something that is foreign to Ninio, akafurushwa hiyo ministry, and I don't know if we can get another CS or if the current CS can put focus on that, because it's a very important player in the growth of an economy. Yeah, because now here in Kenya, like we import almost everything. Hadi the needle, hii shindano ya kushona tuna import. And the government is busy here telling us about affordable housing and all those shenanigans. I think we need a serious government so far. I can say we need a serious government which can bring such things onto the table. Adi, when you are going to elect your leaders in 2027, these are the things that they should be telling you. Sio hii upuzi tunaambiwa kidogo. Yeah, you are being told about a bottom up, but what did it involve? And are you experiencing that bottom up now? You aren't. So yeah, na penye tumefika, I just see the IMF and World Bank introducing SAPs to us, and sijui tutaelekea wapi, because yeah, I think
Now,
we have
district
allowed.
development board really worked until Moi came to realize, you see, the longer you stay in power, there's something subtle that happens. Any projection that puts you on the periphery of getting out of power, you have to take it out. The people that were fighting Moi mostly at that particular time, for a very long time, were the Luo community. He kind of almost succeeded in harnessing the Kikuyu community to help him, but the Luo were adamant, and he started seeing that they were still untouchable. When you looked at the amount of water they had, the Lakes Victoria, then he realized the economic activities that actually these people had, from pyrethrum to sugar, because they have about 3 sugar companies. We have Muhoroni, we have Miwani, and we have Sony Sugar. And the economic activities that were going on were big. Then we had the cotton industry, which was thriving, my friend.
Is it Kikomi?
Yeah, Kikomi was the industry, and the Kikomi was the factory, but the industry itself was the cotton. The cotton industry was thriving. And let me explain to you, because many people do not know why it was thriving. And I think Anyang' Nyong'o has tried this, but I think both Uhuru and Ruto did not want again the same trajectory to happen. Kikomi was a unique textile industry in the world because it produced one of the highest quality fabric in the world. Go check in the hand side. The same way Narok produces the highest quality of wheat in the world. In fact, we export our wheat to countries like Russia and import weaker wheat from India because our wheat actually is high grade, if you don't know. If you don't know that. So Economy used to make a fabric that used to be called Raymond. Those who are older could understand how the Raymond blanket was warm but also long lasting, durable. Now, the suit that fabric could make were the quality designer, and therefore hiyo kitambaa that factory was kwenda kwa kina Otonglo when you're going to the airstrip. That time it was airstrip, not the airport. And the people that were working there were being paid very well. And they realized that part of the industries, Miwani, Stony, Muhoroni, Kikomi, Kenya Breweries, which was actually using sorghum that was coming from the Luo community. You see, one of the biggest land that is underutilized in the whole of Kenya that is most fertile is the Luo land. For your record, it's not even the Kalenjin land. It's Luo land. If you go Kwedambita, Kwasi kwa Kinambadi kule, my friend, kitunguu itamea ufikirie ni kichwa yako, my friend. So, so these people, economically, if Moi did not disrupt the economic activities, they could basically bankroll and still bankroll themselves with the minimum and make noise for Moi. And when Moi saw that there is nothing he could do, what he decided is to kill all the industries, economic embargo, economic sanctions. Not that the issue was not sustainable or it wasn't working. The District Development Board actually worked with Mashinani, and people could actually get the highest quality of seeds from Kenya Seeds Company, and which was a monopoly but was the best seed company in the world at that particular time, because Moi was meticulous in terms of how seeds were given to the farmers. But the moment he realized that even subsistence farming could make what kukua so comfortable and bankroll activities that could say Moi must go, what did he do? He started messing up with such kind of companies. Now, remember when IMF and World Bank came when we were under liquidation in the 1995 to 1997.
Boon,
Yeah.
I think I think you are headed into the structural adjustment programs that they impose on countries after they, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When 1997 we signed the deal, that is when we came up with what we called a golden handshake, because our workers were not being given a livable wage. And therefore, our structure within our human resource, we wanted very few people, but who had jobs that could pay for, healthcare, NHIF, NSSF, so on and so forth. One of the things that Moi negotiated completely and refused is for our multinational companies to be swallowed or be taken by any percentage by foreigners. That one, Naheko, Moi completely. Moi refused. You are not going to take anything called parastatal. These are state companies. The moment you take them, you have totally taken away the lives of every individual because they depend on it. And the pressure was put later on by the time he was getting. And Moi saw that, for the future of the farmers, he was doing this out of goodwill, but I think it ended up being a bad deal. The only thing that he monopolized and took away himself, because he saw the future of Kenya could be a bad test, was Kenya Seed Company, which actually he owns in Kitale. But he never wanted any company to be taken. But right now, look, all of them have been taken, and that's why we become poorer as a country.
And do you think, Bundi, that the IMF and World Bank is going to come and tell Ruto to do the same? To, like, they always come with their own condition. Do you think he might decide to to give away some of the companies? Do Ruto vile namuona? Yeah.
Yeah, already they have. Remember, we crafted a law that was put in part of the 6th memorandum. And that's why sometimes I think it's sad. We talk a lot about Ruto must go, but what he has done and the effect that it will have on our economy, we really do not remember. During the, the worst thing that ever happened is the High Court taking the CDF out of the members of parliament, because by weakening them, they complied with Ruto when this session of parliament started. So Ruto gave them 6 memorandum, and he said he has put them together as a combo. And if they refuse to pass them as a combo, they are not going to get the CDF, which actually was now national government CDF. CDF used to be independent completely under Kibaki because it was a structure to decentralize development. The problem was when the High Court realized with devolution we did not need it, they scrapped it off. But now Ruto, the same way, is nicked by bringing the judges that Uhuru had refused to hire. He also sneaked back the CDF. Now, by sneaking back the CDF, there are some other 5 memorandum that were put part of bringing back the CDF. One of them is selling state parastatal without going to parliament. Okay. And the members of parliament really wanted the CDF. So they signed under that memorandum that, we are going to form state organization that will look into parastatals that need to be sold to make profit. And we are not going to go through parliament. We will usurp the powers of parliament. Then Dindi Nyoro was at the peak of shouting and saying, yes, we should do that. This process is odious. The bureaucracy is too much, ABCD. And we gave it away. So when you say that Ruto is going to sell, no, Ruto has already sold all of them through that kangaroo board that they formed. And the composition of the board itself was telling, because you could go in hindsight and see who was the chair and the allocation and the shareship of the companies that were sold. So it's not something that Ruto is about to do. It's something that already happened. It's something, and that is why we were having a bitter quarrel about Adani. We only focused on Adani and Kenya Airways. We never focused on other investors who bought other parastatals. Do you know there are other parastatals that were sold at the same time? Or you think it was only Kenya Airways? So we only focused on one, we left the rest. Remember even the issue of Nani bringing, and it burnt like maganda ya mahindi. Najua ile moto ya maganda ya mahindi na wakaraka alafu inazima. The issue of Safaricom and shares. Dimi Nyoro came and told us the truth. Look at what is happening. This issue of the fund that is going now it's going to develop our roads, so on and so forth. That's why we are selling the percentage from Safaricom. It is, Giving you to know the company that is buying, the South African-based company, actually came out and refused and say, no, we are being quoted for no reason. We are not buying anybody's shares. That company came forth, if you remember, and said, no, this is a lie. Who was buying those shares? William Samoei Ruto. So we have already sold. Even because the problem and the phenomenon of Safaricom, which actually we must deal with it the same way America dealt with companies. Remember, I think there is a phenomena that countries have faced, like the one we are facing currently. We try to deal with it, but we never dealt with it the way we need to deal with it. There was a time Shell BP was one company. And when Shell BP was one company, it became almost richer than the UK. Okay, so no company should be bigger than the government. So they broke it down to Shell and BP, but it used to be one company. Now, in America, we had that phenomenon in the 90s when AT&T became a global phenomenon. And actually it had to be cajoled and splitted because it was making major decisions in the corporate world and also in the politics because they became the biggest lobbyists in the Congress. Now, Safaricom, unfortunately, has become too big because even the banks use Safaricom. They bank with Safaricom. Even Central Bank of Kenya is using Safaricom to collect taxes. Even our energy grid and the energy sector is using Safaricom. Now, e-Citizen is using Safaricom. So Safaricom, the moment you see Ruto meddling with Safaricom, he's meddling with the economy, and we let it go. And Ndindi Nyoro made a lot of noise, sensitize us and tell us, look, we are giving up. And I think that is what Atwoli was telling us, huyu jamaa atachukua Central Bank of Kenya kwa nyumba yake. And he took it, we saw it, and we kept quiet.
Well, Bundi. And because we are talking about growth of industries, I just want to ask you a question. Do you think that repatriation of resources has been one of the factors that are dragging industrialization back in our country?
Sikusikia, umeuliza?
Oh, I'm asking, since we are looking at the issue of industrialization, do you think that the repatriation of resources are some of the factors that are dragging the growth of, or rather dragging industrialization backwards in our country?
No, I think it's lack of goodwill. It's lack.
So repatriation of resources is not even a factor.
It's purely lack of goodwill because I think Kenya has one of the highest sensitized and obviously most educated citizenry in not only Africa but across the globe. Even with minimal and even with our country being freezed by almost everybody, we still have a reason and the goodwill as a people. But the leadership that and the institutions that we have are the ones that have essentially failed us, more especially the court. The courts in Botswana somehow have been able to save that country. And that is why you have seen a lot of politicians and the people have had trust for their country. Our courts are the biggest barriers. If our courts were to be functional, whereby as as a fair attributors, if you will go to them and get justice, and they create a working conditions whereby you can protect farmers, you can protect the prices, you can protect institutions like the ones today Sakaja was saying, the fund that, is it equalization fund? He was talking about a certain fund that we put money to that should be used at this particular time when there is economic, issues that we are having. We must release that money. So we don't have to go to court to do that. It is something that should be automatic. But because it's not automatic, it forces us to go to court. And even if we were to go to court again, we will not get it. Why? Because our courts have been compromised at, yes, every system and every country does have activist judges and activist appointees to the courts. And each and everyone has a duty. But when it comes to the country, goodwill, I think they take a stand. For instance, if you remember the judgment of Obamacare when it went to the Supreme Court, John Edwards was actually not a Democratic appointee. He was a George Bush appointee. He rose so quickly to become the Supreme Court president of the United States. When the issue of the Obamacare and universal health care went to court and said it's illegal to force everybody to have insurance, he looked for a clause that could help him for the country to have universal health care and say, aren't we allowed all of us to have motor vehicle insurance? Whether it was right or wrong, I think he never looked at the party issue. He wanted to go beyond the party issue and look for the posterity of our country. Whether Obamacare was the wrong one or the right one, he was foreseeing a place and a time when America could actually have universal health care, because at that particular time, the issue of existing conditions and other things had made it almost impossible for us to have health care that was universal and also across the board. So the courts came in and saved a country. Do we have that trust that you can go to Koome to save a country? I just gave you an illustration, whether it's the best or not the best, because we are all here to Njiri is a Republican, I'm a Democrat, and so we don't agree on things. But you can come to American courts and be able to get, something that can sustain a country. Do you think you can go to the courts today and be able to get the justice or something that thinks about the country and the future? We have a situation whereby a justice of court was caught with a lot of money in his house in Kenya. What happened after that? Nothing. Sonko himself, in his Sonko leaks in Facebook, one of the most shameful things we ever saw during Sonko showed us how judges are given money to prevent his impeachment. You remember those leaks that eventually the court said he's going to be barred from social media if he continues to leak those videos. But somehow Sonko was able to show us in a short time, it was 2 weeks, but could show you how our courts works. So I think it's not the political will, it is not the executive power. The problem we have is that our courts are so compromised to the core. Yeah.
Haya, sasa Bundi ulikata hiyo mambo yangu ya repatriation of profits. So there is this another issue. When we got independence, so hiyo tu ya industrialization, I think it is an issue that just began after our independence. When we got independence, most of the presidents tried to adopt the Western models of development, but you could find that the most African countries, they continued with them with what could only these modules contained what could only work for the West, even the policies. So the people continued with it, but the African support system could not thrive or go beyond what these modules provided. Do you think that this was also a very bad effect? Because you see, when the European countries began industrialization, yes, we know there were consequences of the First and the Second World War, but there came a time when they adopted, I think it was the Marshall Plan that was the US lending to these other countries that were trying to repair or rebuild themselves due to the destructions of the war. And after that, they created their own model and developed towards that. But yes, they made sure it worked for them. But African countries, immediately after getting independence, most of the presidents only dwelt on, let me say, revising the Western models for industrialization, which could not work for them because it wasn't the same. Do you think that was also a major problem? Before I finish my show.
You know, your question is elaborate, something that we have ran away as a country, as Africans, totally.
Yeah.
Remember, we never grabbed our independence. We were given. Do you agree that?
Yeah.
Now, when you are given something, it means you negotiate. When you steal something, it means you take all of it. So, if you look at when did we get the independence, first of all, the periods of independence came post 1939, 1945, Second World War. After that, the leader of the free world then created what we called a new order. That new order, which we refuse to discuss a lot to understand how now they brought the African states into board to negotiate for their independence. There were institutions that were created to monitor forever the world. About 5 institutions, namely UNEP, the one people think it's not consequential, but very consequential because the carbon cap is put there for greenhouse emissions. And that is why most of the time we are duped to what we call Kyoto Protocol and not allowed to actually use coal. So one of them was UNEP. Secondly is World Food Organization. And then the rest, you know them, UN and UN, IMF and World Bank. All of them, all of them, they are US institutions to rule the world. Okay? Now, once they had said that, now they had completed everything, neo-colonization had sealed forever. Now, the petrodollar was negotiated with the Arab countries, which they actually, until today, they cry because even then, they've lost a lot because of the petrodollar issue. Okay, they keep talking about that. Even the other day, United Arab Emirates said it's getting out of OPEC, so on and so forth. You can go and read the economic magazine of last month. It was talking about how UAE is crying. Now, after that, see, the First World Order was made, and the creation of those institutions, and then the petrodollar came into effect. Now, the fourth thing was the negotiation of our independence, which, for instance, for us, was done in Lancaster House. So we went to negotiate. So we went to Lancaster. So the problem is, we've never sat down and see the disagreements that we had in Lancaster House, which actually the British ended up harming Oginga Odinga as pro-communist and Kenyatta as pro what? Capitalism. And we got our independence on agitation, and we were already we started with factionalism. Okay, so And some of the mistakes that we did, Arwin Kodek, in his honesty, says signing the independence was not a problem. Giving away our country was the problem. For instance, there is here in Laikipia, there's a conservatory that does not belong to, actually, Laikipia is your Kenya. You know that. That is one thing you will need to know. Magadi soda is not Kenya. That we don't see anything from there. We don't utilize anything from there. And Lake Victoria, we cannot use that water for irrigation. We were totally
I know.
from inside. So
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you ask that we got independence, which independence do we have? And we were forced to join Commonwealth. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The same way we keep on criticizing the Francophone countries for having their central bank in that. But we have a centralized system called Commonwealth that we do trading. So the thing is this. If you look at what we got political independence, which South Africa also got. We are players on our political ground. We make a lot of noise. But when it comes to making sound decision in terms of where we are headed to, the economy, we cannot, because we've been held ransom from the very day we signed that document that we are what. And that is why you see Sifuna akifika kule juu, ambassadors wanakuja kuongea na yeye. Unaona president wa nini akikuja Kenya wa France, akona Ruto hapa, lakini anatuma delegates wake kuenda kuongea na Matiang'i. You can almost see how we are being held like a puppet in the string. That is the design. If you look at what is happening, the world order is changing. Last week, Trump. Last week, Trump was in China. Immediately got out of China. Putin went back to China, and you're going to see Japan and other, go to China. Why? Because they've realized that the world order does not affect China anymore. Unaelewa? And therefore they become completely independent because of this. Their Soviet
USSR.
Fund, the sovereignty fund that they have, that they are able through the China Bank to give other countries, and many countries, including America, owes them a lot of money. So for us, we cannot come out of neo-colonization, and there is no decision that we can make that is independent, because for a country to survive, we must use dollars. For a country to survive, we must use the index that has been put by World Bank to gauge us and tell us this is who you are against all odds. Whether we like it or not, we will be told you are an underdeveloped country, you're a developing country, according to how they feel. So whatever we call independence is not viable for me, because independence from what? And who gauges what independence is, apart from these world order institutions that were put that actually really controls us? And one of the worst things that ever happened to Kenya is that we host one of the biggest institution of that, second in the, which is UNEP, and they have used it against us. Anytime we want to revolt and become independent, we are reminded that, remember, muko na nini? Na UNEP. If you joke, we will take it out and take it to Brazil. And we have held on to something that has no viability to us. No viability. Anytime you want to rise in tension, hata hii maandamano iende for 3 weeks, utasikia UN inaingilia. Like, we can never make any decision because of this bullshit called UNEP in Gitiri. I don't know if you have ever known that.
Yeah, I know. So you agree with me, Alex, the Western model is one of the hindrance, right?
It's not
I can
one
see
of the, it is the
it
hindrance.
is.
It's not
It
one
is.
of the, it is the hindrance.
I can see our brother Njiru is here. Njiru, are you there?
Yes, Madam Valerie niambie. Mimi niko hapa Nambarizi Atlantic Ocean pole.
Eri wewe.
Sasa mimi so Bwana Budi, sasa mimi niko ile ng'ambo ingine yenyu. I'm somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Naangalia vile madok zinatengenezwa, zile madok Ruto wanasemanga ati yeye anaunda. Sasa that is anyway, that is the experience I'm getting here. So what we are trying to do here, maybe to show you in brief, is we have tried to push the ocean. So the ocean tumepush hapa, halafu tukaweka mawe hapa. So it is reclaiming the land. So there will be a dock here. Ile itakuwa dock, so mameli zitakuwa zinakuja hapa. Halafu sasa na ma-celebrity wa America wanajengewa ma-apartment hapa. So this is where they are going to build ma-apartment zingine noma sana. So anyway, that's what I'm doing, just ili usiona kama sikuweza kukuja kwa show yako. And for those people who unajua Bwana Mbudi, sababu kuna majama wako waliniambianga hakuna kitu unafanyanga. Waliniambia mimi nimeolewa na sijui na Mmarekani hapa. Yeah, this is what I'm doing here. So I'm doing an experimentation here. Hii ni ya kupima tide za ocean. So I'm trying to measure ocean tides so that so I will be here for the next 9 hours. Away from that, so wacha to react kwa story ya Ruto. Ati nimesikia Ruto ameanzia na kucelebrate Arsenal. Budi, umeona vile madiversion inakuanga when Matatus are striking, alafu ati Orezo mzima anakuja kuongea story ya Arsenal. Budi, let me ask you a question. How many presidents in the world have celebrated Arsenal win?
You know what, Njiru? That is just a colonial legacy that is disturbing people. I'm not against any team, and I'm not even a football fan, but I always see these things as colonial legacies.
Yeah, now Ruto comes and start saying that you know, Arsenal, like he's not even talking about the Matatu thing and the way there have been very deadly riots and how he is even going to handle the aftermath. Because unajua, there is something which as Kenyans we have refused to do. Tunafanya demonstration, then kunakuwa na underdeal pale ambako wakubwa wanakutana wanapeana pesa kivyao, then after hiyo underdeal kutokezea, whoever was affected anabaki tu hivyo. People are in the hospitals, people are dead. No one will talk about that simply because sababu maandamano imetishwa for 1 week. Then I also think like Matatu owner. Sorry?
No.
So yeah, Matatu, I think also Matatu owners they have done injustice to Kenyans because they, even if they are saying that wanasema ati Ruto amewapea hiyo guarantee ati mafuta itapunguzwa, the truth of the matter is there are so many things which are affecting the country, and I don't know why the Matatu owners, they just stopped that strike without like I don't know like who they consulted, how easily did they trust the government. I would still want to know. Zile masimamo nilikuwa nikiona some of them pale wakipeana hapo, I was predicting very big yellow envelopes.
Actually, that was the first issue that I talked about when we started the show.
Hao majamaa zile masimamo niliona hapo watu wakisema now we are suspending it for 1 week. Ani unaona jamaa ndiye anatoa ulimi nje. Unaona jamaa anatoa ulimi nje hadi anairoll. You know, as somebody who looks at saa zingine on reactions of people. Ukiona, when you see you know, figurative language. Ukionanga mtu anaongea na anaroll ulimi, unafaa kujua it mirrors kukula. Unaona kama sasa Madam Valerie, ukitaka kujua somebody who has been corrupted, ukiongea na mtu unamuuliza wewe na wewe inakaa umekula. Alafu uone huyu jamaa ukiongea naye ni kama ukiongea na yeye ni kama anaongea labda kuna venye anaroll ulimi. That is usually the first thing you know ya huyo mtu amelipwa. Because ni instinct kwa mwili unamwambia amelipwa, then mwili venye unamwambia amelipwa, sasa instinct inakumbuka zile manyama choma anakula na hiyo pesa, ndio anaanzianga sasa kuroro ulimi. So at times ukiona mtu anarororo ulimi ujue huyo amekula, amelipwa. It comes in kindly, you don't need to trigger it. Ni kama vile saa zingine when somebody is just happy because their things are going well. Saa zingine unaweza kuta maybe mtu amepita mtihani sijui nini, things are going well, amelipa nyumba, amefanya nini, unaona tu huyo mtu tu kuna venye tu hata anakaa kushine, anakaa tu yellow. So hizo vitu tu zinakujanga tu automatically, ni body reaction based on the things. So kulingana vile hao majamaa wa matatu walikuwa wanaongea hapo, mimi nilipredict hao majamaa walipewa brown envelopes. I predicted those the government because they knew they think can spiral to other thing. Serikali hata inaweza wapea hata 1 billion wanyamaze. But ujue sasa yule mtu wa matatu wa kawaida amebaki tu hivyo. So he has nothing much left. So that is the issue. So wacha niona vile anasema, I feel hata NIS that script walikuwa na celebration all over Nairobi at venye maandamano, because wanajua hiyo maandamano ya matatu venye ilikuwa imewashika ko. But I still believe wanaweza simamisha maandamano ya matatu, lakini hawatasimamisha maandamano ya vitu. There will be a lot of protest in Kenya kwa vitu zingine mingi sana. Even workers will be protesting. Very soon lecturers will go out. Watu wanado, unajua kuna mimba uwezi ficha. Mimba uwezi ficha, ikifikisha miezi 3 lazima ianzie kufura. So Ruto anaweza bribe hawa watu ya mafuta. Is he going to bribe doctors? Is he going to bribe nurses? Is he going to bribe other people in different walks of life? He cannot. So what is happening is that we are disproportionately affected by this decision. We hoped that this was one of the things ambayo hata ingetusaidia pia kuimprove maisha yetu, but the matatu owners and matatu bosses decided to start the future of Kenya. I hope in that one way they will be able to come back to senses and they will not agree to the stupidity of the government. So, because we need to see things going down. So, see you come Valerie, up to now, what was the promise of the government? Mafuta imeshukishwa na kiasi gani? Sorry?
Diesel ilishukishwa na 10.
Alafu na hiyo ingine petrol is the most important fuel. Na hiyo
wamesema tuwape 1 week, they are discussing the issue.
Na hebu nikuulize like Madam Valerie, unajua vitu zingine naonanga ni ujinga. Kushukisha bei ya mafuta, do you need a week?
They're waiting for the president to come anakuja Thursday usiku. That's what they're saying.
Because hawezi fanyia kazi kwa hiyo ndege yake iko na jacuzzi. As is being massaged.
Huyo president mwenyewe jana alikuwa anasema
as he is being massaged by those 4 Seychelles girls, and he is in a cold bath and receiving some hot massages, and some thigh massages. Mbona asipunguzia hapo? Ndio hata anafaa kupunguzia mafuta hapo haraka. Ama
alisema jana alisema mnasema Ruto must go. Mnataka aende wapi, and how do you want him to go? Mumwambie how do you want him to go?
Atajua ajui bwana. Kuenda anaenda. Kuenda ataenda, kuenda ataenda, ataenda, kuenda ataenda, Kuenda ataenda. So history ya kutuambia kwani ni entitlement gani yako nayo? So Valerie, wewe ndio nakuuliza which entitlement does he have, like ati yeye hawezi enda, ni entitlement gani hiyo anatuambia tumwambie ataenda aje?
Ndio nataka Njiru uniambie saa hii ataendaje juu yeye mwenyewe amewauliza how do you want me to go? You are saying Ruto must go, how do you want me to go?
Si anatoka anaenda kwani mtu uenda aje? Si unaondokea watu wafanya mambo yao. We Valerie, nikuulize, that is a stupid question. Hata nasituulize maswali kama hiyo. Hao wengine uenda aje? Mobutu sasa kwa alienda aje? Awache huyo jamaa bwana aache kutu.
Ama anataka tumwambie, unaona vile alituuliza vile anataka kuenda, how should I go? Tungemjibu tumwambie kama vile Idi Amin alienda. We will chase him.
Kuenda lazima aende, aache ujinga. Ati anatuuliza swali ati tunataka aende aje. Hiyo ni swali ama ni ati how do you want me to go? Si vile wengine wanaendanga. Si watu wanamalizanga their terms and they go away. Things are not working. People are continuing to have poverty. People have no food. People have no uniform. People have no school fees. People are literally operating on survival tactics. Life is nimeongea na mzee mmoja, unajua, because I always talk. Unajua kuna mzee nimekuwa nikiongea na yeye. Huyo mzee alikuwa ananiambia, bwana Njiru, hata 1971 hakukuwa hivi. Nikamuuliza what do you mean? Bwana, akaniambia bwana, mimi sijaiona Kenya inakaa hivyo. Nikamuuliza hiyo 1971 alikuwa ananiambia kulikuwa na wakati ambayo tulikuwa na mashida hapa. Lakini you could eat and you could go wherever ni pesa ya mfuko tu hatukuwa nayo. Lakini vitu ungeweza kufanya. Watoto wako shule, mahospitali ziko zinafanya. Wewe pesa mfuko hauna. Huyo mzee ameniambia vizuri, alikuwa ananiambia 1971 because that hiyo time ndio alikuwa kijana. That's what he was telling me. Hiyo time he was around in his 30s. So you can imagine somebody in 1971 was in his 30s. Right now he is in his 80s now because you are adding some 50 years or so. Huyo mzee ameniambia hivi, 1971 hospitali unaenda unatibiwa, shule unaenda unasoma, kwako umekula, lakini pesa ya mfuko hatukuwa nayo. Lakini hata hatukuwa tunaona, hatukuwa tunajali. Sio rende zile vitu muhimu zinatendeka. So sisi hata hatukuwa tunajua kuna shida ni pesa. So tulikuwa tu tunaongea tu tunasema hawaku wangu anatumia hata hiyo word ni komo. They never even used like he was telling me like hata ndiye amenipeleka down the lane ya kusema kumekauka. Ameniambia hiyo ya word kumekauka, it is a very postmodern word in Kenya. Alikuwa ananiambia in 1970s hawajaisema kumekauka. Hiyo ni word yetu sasa. Na akaniambia kumekauka. Lakini akani-encourage akaniambia, unajua mimi Njiru, mimi sina shida. In the next 20 years unajua mimi sitakuwa. So mimi nitawachia hii mashida yenu mpambane. Wacha mimi sasa mimi wacha mimi natembea. Hii mashida yenu ni too much. But that is the encouragement he was having. And old man akaniambia, mimi najua mimi Njiru I have no problem. Nyinyi watu sasa mjipange. Mimi naona ni kama maisha yangu imefika I'm almost at a terminal point of my life. Mimi nitawachia mashida yenu mpangane. This is too much, man. Lakini nitawaombea niona kama utasucceed. Watoto wasome. Like huyo mzee akaniambia for the first time. Unajua huyo mzee ati anajua ati watu wa degree waajiriwi. Ati hadi akaenda pahali ati anaambiwa huyu amefanya degree na hayuko kazi. Akauliza what do you mean? Anasema sisi wakati yetu mtu alikuwa anaendelea shule akipata degree. Ati sahi ati naambiwa mtoto amesoma na ati mtoto wako na degree na yuko kazi. Huyo mzee alishtuka sana bwana. Ameshtuka hadi hiyo kitu hajanyamaza mpaka sahi. So hadi sasa ndiye alikuwa ananiuliza, wewe si unafaa utuambie masomo, kwani watu wanasoma nini? Hawana kazi ama shida ni nini? Nikamwambia ni vile kutakae. Hata hajanyamaza, he is asking me because according to unajua mzee wale watu anajua walikuwa na madigrii in 7 days. walikuwa wanapata kazi wakiwa sadia, fastia, ushapewa kazi. Sasa huyo mzee so I'm telling you like what is happening. Old people are losing hope. Old people are losing hope. Yeah, so at with you this when I did ndio nikiza sasa Budi sasa ndio nasema in your lifetime. When wewe Budi there is a possibility wewe ulilewa na matoke vizuri hata mama yako hakuwa na stress ya kukulea. Wewe there is a possibility 1971 wewe ulilewa vizuri sana, mama yako akajifungua vizuri because hata wamama wengine wako wanaenda hospitali that time, whether mama yako alienda hospitali ama hakuenda hospitali. Some of us wengine tunajua sisi tulizaliwa hapo kando ya kitanda, which is okay. Bora unacheka Farare.
Why kando ya kitanda? I can see my friend Mama Mary is here. Acha ni welcome. Hi Mama Mary, welcome to the show. And
na sijui nani ananiambia kidogo as Mama Mary anakuja ati wewe uko na hope njio. Ati Rachel ananiuliza ati wewe uko na hope. So I don't know like when she is saying nama niko na hope what she means there. Lakini Mama Mary, to do a connection on what I was saying, I'm telling you all the generation of Kenya has given up with us. Wanasema eli waende watuachie mashida. Mimi nakwambia mzee ameongea na mimi akaniambia wacha tu tuache hii mashida. Like now people are saying wacha tu apite. I don't know, they are reaching a level wanaona ni kama hii mashida ni mingi ama it cannot be solved. Because wao wakiwa wachanga hawakuona mashida kama hii. That time there was no technology, there was nothing. Yet they could feed and they could educate their kids. Ati saa hii wanatuambia watoto wetu ndio wanatuletea watoto tuwasomeshe. Na even our grandkids we are even at sisi ndio tunalipia school fees. That is the quagmire which is there. Thank you.
Aya. I can see Mama Mary and msimamo are here. Msimamo na Mama Mary leo tulianza show mapema. Mambo ni mengi. Karibuni studio.
Hi Valerie, msimamo Njiro, habari zenu? Na fikiri mko sawa kwa sababu bado mnaongea. Na ni vizuri kukutana tena tufanye majadiliano ambayo tunaona kwa nchi yetu. Yeah, we decided to elect a lifeist president. A lifeist angaliagi nyuma, hatakagi makelele, hatakagi kukosolewa. Yeye anataka kufanya mambo yake vile anataka. It's very sad at this very time ati tunaongea habari ya vile mambo ilikuwa mzuri na sasa imeharibika. Instead, tunaambiwa the more we are living, the more we are progressing into better future, into better way of living. Sasa inaonekana hata afadhali wale watu walikuwa Stone Age waliishi vizuri kuliko vile tuko. We talk of being educated, but there is nothing that education is doing to us, for us. It's just diminishing the relationship between humanity. So mimi nikiangalia naona kweli kabisa Ruto hakuingia hapo, and we have said this many times, hakuingia hapo awe leader, awe kiongozi. Yeye alikuwa anaingia hapo kwa manufaa yake, awe dynasty. Ile alikuwa ameimbia watu, wakamsikiliza, wakaona yeye kweli anaongea ukweli. But anyway, for that number that believed him, I'm not among. Nilimuonea mbali na nilimuelewa mtu mchafu yeye, kulingana na ile mambo yote alikuwa amefanya. Na mimi, I can forgive but I cannot forget. And if you don't forget, you cannot go back there. So these people who try to pretend that Ruto tulifikiria amerepent, you are fooled, and you took that foolishness to yourself. Now look the burning you are facing. Tumeambiwa at the time of negotiation ya hiyo Matatu people and the government. Come to think, at Matatu people wanaambiwa, you are very lucky ati sisi tumekubali kutoa hiyo shilingi 10. Kama mwenyewe, imagine, kama mwenyewe angekuwa hapa, hamungepata hata ndururu. I mean, he could not have negotiated with you. He could not reduce anything. Ebu fikiria wewe Mkenya. Hiyo ni matusi ya aina gani? Hiyo ni mambo gani tunaambiwa hapo? Honestly. Are we living? Are we in our country? Is our country being taken away from us? Is it being owned like somebody's kiosk? Mimi niliangalia hao watu wa Matatu nikaona they are not serious. Though what I understand is that this is two groups. They are divided. There are people who are serious about this issue of Matatu and fuel. But there are people who went there to eat. Na hiyo ndio sasa ile sura yetu ya Kenya. Ndio unaona watu wanasema two term kwa sababu wanataka kusikika ndio wapewe pesa. Si ati kwa sababu that is the right thing. They know it is a very bad thing. It's a ruthless way of leading a country. But people tend to say two term ndio apate hizo pesa. Za kumsaidia nini? Ataenda nazo wapi? Sasa unaumiza jamii nzima kwa sababu ya mdomo wako, kwa sababu ya vitendo zako. Are you happy about that? So, mimi niliangalia hao watu wa Matatu. In fact, there are people of Matatu association who are very bitter. They are not happy. They did not understand how they reached that point. Lakini huyu mwenye anasema with due respect, I guess he did not go there for a fair share. He went there for himself. As I understand, I don't know whether it is true. 500,000, what does that mean? What does that mean to a nation that is really burning and crying for everything that is going wrong in our country? So, sisi tuko kwa nchi ya wenyewe. Let's declare that. We are not in our country. Sisi tuko nchi ya wenyewe. Na hao wenyewe hawana shughuli na nyinyi. Either you go kwa binguni ama uwe ndani ya ama you export yourself. That's all. Hii nchi imekuwa imezorota kabisa na ni kuisha inaisha. Mimi sio ati nawashtua. Tukiendelea na hiyo mambo inaendelea hivyo. The few that have taken, they have captured our country, they don't care what you go through. Na si watu ambao wataregea, sisi ndio tutawaregeza kwa matendo yetu na maongeo yetu. Lakini tukiwa ati kunafika wakati tunaambiwa bahasha ndio hii, unanyamaza. Seriously? Sasa huyo mmoja amenyamaza, ameenda kwake kukula. While the majority of Kenyans are suffering. That means Kenyans are being colonized by their own people through other channels. Pesa umechukua, umeweka kwa mfuko wako. Umezifungia pahali. Surely you understand each and every pain that people are going through because you are within that country. Where do you think Kenyans are going to get their help? Who else are they going to ask questions? Umeenda hapo, you have blocked the ways of how Kenyans can get help. And yet you don't want people to shout.
That guy's getting arrested. The guy around Cuba, that's all that news. They're pressing charges.
So for me, I'm trying to say Kenyans have to disagree with what happened. hiyo maandamano haikuwa ya matatu, si tulikuwa tunaandamana kwa sababu ya fuel. Watu wa matatu mkitaka kuregea ni shauri yenu, but we are fighting for the fuel because we know we are the people who suffer most, kwa sababu kila kitu ambacho tunatumia huwa kinatumika kwa hiyo mafuta. Kila kitu kitapanda na sisi ndio tutaumia. Wenye matatu wataendelea to charge a lot of money for our fare. Kwa hivyo we are not safe, we are in trouble. Kwa hivyo Wakenya, vita yetu bado. Sasa ndio tutaipanga vizuri, tukiwa tunajua watu wa matatu hawako haja na sisi, hawako pamoja na sisi. What can we do? Asanteni. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, Mama Mary. I'd also like to welcome Msimamo. Msimamo, are you in the building? Leo umechelewa. Tulianza mapema kabisa. Tulianza mchana.
Pole langu, nilikuwa safari kidogo nikaingia mida hii tu. Ndio maana nikachelewa, so nilipoingia pia ukana show pande nyingine ya Benson nikasukuma huko kidogo, na sasa ndio nimerudi nyumbani hapa kusukuma. So nilikuwa safari kwa kweli. Lakini awali ya yote pokea zangu, lakini pia zangu za dhati kwa mamangu wa Mameri hapo na Alex wale na Kipo wale tutangulia na Njiru, lakini wale wote ambao wako upande wa comment section. Vile mimi yangu ni mafupi ya leo. Ya kwanza, hatima jukumu la Kindiki ni lipi? Kwa maana mkutano ukiwa wana matatu yeye nilimpata kule Tarakaniti. Sasa nashindwa kwani serikali hii inaongozwa na kina nani? Ama nafasi ya Kindiki ni ipi hapo? Na kiongozi wa nchi hakuwa pale karibu, alikuwa nje ya nchi. Sasa akiwa nje ya nchi na ameacha mikoba kwa huyu, huu mkutano wa wana matatu huu wala sikumuona katika huo mkao. Yeye alikuwa Tarakaniti. Swali langu ni je, yeye yupo kama nani? Yuko kama anayetumiwa tu kwamba aonekane kuna deputy president lakini hana chake, kuna watu wako juu zaidi, ama ni vipi? Hilo ni la kwanza. La pili ni hizi pesa zilizopewa haswa hawa wana matatu, je, ndio itakuwa suluhu ya shida hii ya mafuta inayomwathiri Mkenya, ama tu ni ule tu badilifu wa hela kama tunavyoshuhudia kwamba hela inachafuliwa haswa kwa mambo yasiyokuwa na tija, kama vile ndege ile ya kifahari iliyombeba haswa kiongozi wa taifa kwenda nchi ile ingine aliyokwenda ya mamilioni. La mwisho kabisa, je, katika hali kama hii fungu la sie wanyonge liko wapi? Ikiwa haswa watoto mpaka sasa hivi bado wamekaa manyumbani kabisa, maana hawajui jinsi gani ya kurudi shule. Lakini kubwa zaidi haswa wagonjwa wanavyokufa haswa ni kwa maswali ambayo ni mengi kuhusiana haswa na sekta hiyo kuchezewa pakubwa. Je, fungu letu sie wananchi ni lipi? Ama ni hili nalofungamana nalo la mama kwamba nchi na wenyewe sisi hatuna chetu? Ni hayo yangu mimi, asante.
Mshamaliza kakangu?
Jamaangu ni ufunguzi tu, maana hawezi isha, maana ni mengi yanayotusibu. Tumeona pia vita vya maneno kati ya Wanga na Orengo, na tumeona wale ambao wanataka kumpinchi wale MCAs. Swali langu pia kwao, je, huu ni mchuzi peke yake ama ndani kuna nyama? Kwa maana tuliwaona si mara moja si mara mbili haswa katika mikutano wao nje haswa ya eneo la Siaya, na vile vile kinyume haswa gavana akiwa pale hayupo, ama ile ahadi wanatimiza, kwa sababu silioni hili na kwamba ati kule kakosewa heshima, kwa maana siasa matusi ipo katika taifa. Kiongozi mwenyewe wa taifa amezungumza peupe, si mara moja si mara mbili, hawa ni wajinga, washenza, wanakili, wapumbavu. Mbona tuliona mgomo wa MCA wakiambatana hili kuweza kumpinch rais? Mbona hili jamani, ni mengi vile kwa kweli yanayotamausha na yanaonyesha kwamba mapungufu yako tele. La kuongezea hapo ni la wanaopewa hizi nyadhifa kama viongozi, mfano kama kiongozi wetu wa CS Murkomen, badala ya suluhu, yeye analawama kwamba mbona wakati ule hayakuwa hivi, mbona sasa hivi uongozi wa huyu yamefanya hivi. Hii inaonyesha basi hapa mkanganyiko wa kuweza kupiganisha jamii mbili, uone kwamba labda pengine haswa uongozi wa wakale, basi kwa nini unapigwa vita na wakati uongozi wa yule haukuwa na haya na haya mambo ya mafuta yalikuwepo. Unakuta kwamba kauli kama hizi zinaonyesha mapungufu mazima ambayo yapo ndani ya viongozi. So na mengi kwa kweli vile ambayo naweza nikazungumzia ambayo yanatia ukakasi haswa kwenye nyoyo za wengi, ni ya msimamo nikiwa mmoja wao, lakini kwa sababu ni mfunguzi nitaachia hapo. Asante.
On the issue of Murkomen asking about that, I think Gachagua answered him. Now the issue of Kindiki not taking over the role clearly when the president is out of the country, niliona pia Gachagua alizungumzia like putting Ishungwa to chair a meeting, not Ishungwa, Itumbi, this man Itumbi, to chair a meeting in the midst of such a crisis. It is something that is so uncalled for, and it's, let me say, disrespectful to the people of Kenya. I don't know if you guys are still there, maybe to add something kidogo before I close the show, ndio maybe Njiru atakuja kufungua nyingine. Msimamo and Mama Mary, do you have anything to add? Yeah.
Okay, Valerie, nilishikwa na mshangao baada ya kusikia vile Murkomen alikuwa analenga maneno kuhusu ambayo watu kweli walifafanua kusema matatu ni sekta ya Wakikuyu, na kusema maneno mingi sana ya kuleta msukosuko kati ya baina ya tribes in our country. Yani ni kumaanisha hawa watu wasipoleta mambo ya tribal hawawezi kuwa wanafanya kazi. Wasipoongea mambo ya kabila fulani hawawezi kuwa wanasema chochote. So they try to really bring things that really doesn't matter to us. Watu wamekataa habari ya ukabila na hawako hapo. But the few who are calling themselves government people, they are the one who are bringing these things to us, making us turn around and see, oh, huyu ni kabila fulani. We are not aware of that. And that thing has been passed. We have tried to cultivate how Kenyans can be together. Na bado hao wanasema, sasa ile wako kwa hali ile wanafikiria wako hali mzuri, wanasema tunataka kuleta Kenya, wa Kenya pamoja. But the way they speak, in a very sensitive situation like the fuel, they bring that tribal card, trying to tell us, unajua iko hivi, unajua hawakuheshimu, waliheshimu uhuru, hawakuheshimu. We are not talking about uhuru, neither who. We are talking of the situation that people are in. Si mambo hiyo ya kuleta mambo. First of all, Murkomen is an official. He should not put his hands and legs and head in politics, trying to talk about politics. He ought to deal with something officially, the way it should be. Lakini sio kuleta maneno ambayo itaambukiza watu wengine waanze kufikiria, na kweli hiyo ilikuwa, watu wale walikuwa wanaandamana, the whole country They were not kuandamana kwa sababu ya matatu. That will be the second thing to think about. They were talking about the fuel, which has brought a lot of problems between the people and the Matatu people. But we are not talking about the Matatu. We are talking about the fuel that has accelerated so many things to become very expensive for the wananchi. Kwa hivyo waache kutuambia ati ni Wakikuyu ama ni nani. Okay, huko Nyanza ni Wakikuyu walikuwa wanafanya maandamano. Western ni Wakikuyu walikuwa wanafanya maandamano. Coast ni Wakikuyu walikuwa wanafanya maandamano. Northeast ni Wakikuyu walikuwa wanafanya maandamano. Tafadhali muache hii ujinga. And these people, that is why we see them. They are not educated. They don't know what they are doing. The only thing is to play cards that will make people fight each other. Lakini ninafurahia, Wakenya wamesema hawatapigana kamwe. We are looking for one goal, one term, ndio tuweze kuwa na nchi yetu imesimama. We cannot just be moving like, ni kama maji inazunguka pahali moja hivi. Sisi, we are all over the place. Smart people who knows what is itching our country. And that is what we want to get rid of. Watu waache kutuhadaa na maneno machafu ya kuchafua roho za watu wengine. Wajaluo, Wakalenjin, because they are also super good Kalenjins. Waluya, Wacoast, Wa Northeast, we are together. We are not fighting. We are fighting one goal. The person who have caused havoc in our country. And that is Ruto, with all his goons that follows him. Asante. Ni hivyo tu nilikuwa nataka kusema, Valerie.
Asante. Msimamo lolote la kuongezea?
La kuongezea labda nikaribishe kwenye mlo.
Ni sawa, nyote mwakaribishwa.
Inaonekana ni mlo mtamu zaidi na vile ambavyo nimechoka. Sasa nikisikia hiyo hali sahani inagongelewa kwa mbali. Anyway, lakini nitamalizia kwa kusema hivi. La kufa lisikii dawa, sikio la kufa siku lisikii dawa. Haya tunaona natumiza, lakini sisi wananchi ndio ambao tutajisaliti wenyewe kwa kuweza kukiweka kipaumbele chambo, kisha tujisahau kwamba ndani ya chambo kuna ndoano. Hivyo twendako haswa 2027 kama tunamaanisha one term, basi one term tuhakikishe kwamba inaangaziwa haswa kwa kila njia ya kuona kwamba hili linatuondokea. Ikiwezekana sawa, sasa ikiwezekana hapo mbele 2027 anyway, lakini kwa kweli one term inatakiwa haswa iongeze kasi zaidi na bidii zaidi kuona kwamba huu moto huu hautazimwa haswa holela kama ambavyo tunashuhudia kwamba hela inamwagwa kokote kule. Pana wanaamini kwamba hela ndio iliyovunja mlima na hela ikimwagwa kila mahali basi sawa, kwa sababu tumeona hawa viongozi wetu wa matatu wakifanya cha ajabu, wakijichukulia maamuzi wao badala ya wale wengi ambao wanaathiriwa haswa na bidhaa hiyo. So wao kwa kuitwa mkutano wanaona labda ndio suluhu, bali sio suluhu, kwa sababu mwisho wa siku watatuhitaji sisi tena kuweza kununua mafuta hayo. Yakiwa ameshuka kwa shilingi 10 diesel, lakini yale mengine yako pale 200 na kitu, basi jiulize bodaboda wangapi sasa hivi wanaenda hasara? Wenye tuktuk wangapi sasa hivi wanaenda hasara? Hebu tutazame bei mpya ya mfumuko haswa wa bei haswa ya usafiri. For instance, mimi nimesafiri leo kutoka Mombasani. Yani nimetoka haswa mpaka nikafika Mombasani, kisha kurudi nimerudi na bike. But kwenda haswa peke yake nilijua kwamba ni shilingi 600. But imetishwa 800 huku na huku 700 ikaenda. Yote haya ya nini? Kwa taifa ambalo tumekuwa kiuchumi, tuna hela za kutosha, hela ambazo haswa tunazishuhudia haswa zikitumika kwa yasio na tija kama haya ambayo yamefanyika kuweza kupewa haswa kama amepewa wana matatu, unaona. Lakini vile vile la msingi ambalo ni la ushahidi hai ni ile ndege ambayo ni maarufu tena kwa mara nyingine, haswa ikidunda nchini kule kwa siku 7 na kila siku ya Mungu inakula milioni 3 na pesa hii, hela yote hii, so tunaishia wapi? Then sisi hapa tunaanza kukanyagana wenyewe kwa wenyewe kwamba wananchi, fungu letu ni lipi? Fungu letu ni lipi? Hilo ndio swali ambalo nitaliacha haswa kwa wingi, na kesho tuangalie, je, suluhu ya hili ili tuondokane hili ni nini? Kwa sababu mwisho wa siku likitokea haliulizi chama, haliulizi mrengo, haliulizi huyu ni wa wapi. Likitokea kama ni la kutokea ni la afya, linatuathiri wote. Kama ni la uchumi, linatuathiri wote. Kama ni uporaji ama corruption, inatuathiri wote. Gharama ya maisha inatuathiri. Kama ni elimu ovyo, inatuathiri wote. Afya hivyo. Hapa hizi shida zote hazibagui huyu ni wa one term, huyu wa nani. So fungu letu haswa ni lipi? Mimi nitaachia pale langu bila lipia. Nikushukuru kwa huo muda, lakini vile vile pia nikushukuru na Mohamed sana kwa mchango wake maridhawa zaidi.
Okay. Okay, me, I'd also like to thank all of you for your contribution.
Can I say something, Valerie?
Yes.
Yeah, hizo siku nasikia watu wamepewa ati siku 7 ati ndio maelewano iwe inaendelea. I just want to ask, okay, hiyo siku ambayo wataamua, who knows what will be the outcome? Nobody. Sababu hii imekuwa ni serikali ya majangili. At this very time, nani anaumia? Mafuta inauzwa ama hata hiyo imesimamishwa, haiuzwi mpaka siku hiyo ifike? Is matatu operating mpaka siku hiyo ifike? Mwananchi, are you paying a fair share? Are you paying hiyo kama sasa umebebwa na matatu hiyo malipo, are you paying as before or you are still paying as this current rate? Kwa sababu watu wa matatu walisema lazima wataongeza nauli. So are they paying the same? Hizi siku 7 serikali si bado inapata manufaa ya hiyo mafuta? Kwa nini iwe ati wao waendelee kupata manufaa ya mafuta lakini wananchi wakae siku 7 wakiongoja? That is a long time. Hiyo si kitu ambayo inatakiwa kuchukua muda. Hapo saa ile walikutana wangesema this is what we are going to do. They are buying time for them to get the profit that they were getting. They are still continuing to collect money. Na watu wa matatu na wauliza, mumeongeza nauli kwa sababu mliambiwa mpaka tarehe 7 ndio mambo itatatuliwa. Nauli mmefanyaje? Wananchi, are you enjoying life with all what has been told? 7 days. 7 days is a long time for people to endure this kind of hostility ya watu kuwa wanalipa nauli kubwa. Hizo siku 7 utasikia kilio cha watu na watu wataumia zaidi. So there is they did nothing to help the mwananchi. Matatu, okay, wataendelea na kucharge hiyo nauli yao. Nani anaumia zaidi? Ni mwananchi. Na ndio ninasema hii maandamano haitaishia hapo. Sisi ndio wenye nchi na sisi ndio tunaumia. Matatu people, they may be enjoying because hii ikipanda wanapandisha. Nani anachezewa hapo katikati? We are in the midst of friction na sisi ndio tunaumia. Asante Valerie for your job. Wish you all the best. Tuongee wakati huo mwingine. Nashukuru.
Thank you so much also for your contribution and all who came to the show to be with me. Thank you, Mama Mary. We started with Kip and Alex and Joseph, Msimamo, Mama Mary, Njiru, and all those in the comment section. Asanteni sana. We'll meet tomorrow. Same place, same time. Good night.